Chapter 450. At the bottom of the sea, behind a huge coral, Lu Ping quietly lay there and looked at everything in front of him. After a while, Lu Ping turned his head and looked at Samling behind him, then looked at Dagawei, who was further away, and asked, "Dagawei, are you sure this is Master Aoyu's cave abode?" Lu Dagawei moved his forelegs, his huge head stretched and shrank in the turtle shell, and said sullenly, "The terrain here is exactly the same as when I came with Dao Master Lu Hai. There's no mistake. The underwater valley ahead is where his cave abode is, but his cave abode is heavily guarded, and there's a cave protection formation protecting it. I'm afraid it's very difficult for Master to enter." After Lu Ping came here through the hidden teleportation formation outside the cave abode, Lu Dagawei suddenly recognized that this place was in the deep-sea demon region that he went to with Dao Master Lu Hai last time, near the location of Dao Master Aoyu's cave abode. Lu Ping knew that his previous speculation was wrong. Now that Aoyu killed Dao Master Li Xianin and faced the pursuit of Jinling's sect cultivators, he certainly didn't have time to return to his cave abode. However, since Lu Ping was here, there was no reason to return empty-handed. Lu Ping thought for a while, and let Samling transform into his original form. His shrunken body climbed onto Lu Dagawei's body, and then let Lu Dagawei swim to Dao Master Aoyu's cave abode, while Lu Ping followed behind. Suddenly, there was a commotion at the entrance of the valley ahead. Lu Ping knew that Dagawei and the others had already attracted the attention of the demon race guarding the cave abode. Lu Ping reached into the spirit pet bag and dug. Dabeo just came out, and before he could celebrate his regained freedom, a terrifying pressure came to him. Dabeo, who opened his mouth to breathe, only let out 2 bubbles. A pale yellow light flashed on his body and wrapped him in it, but this layer of pale yellow light shield was quickly crushed by the pressure of the deep sea. Dabeo looked at his master helplessly. Lu Ping had no choice but to stuff the water-repelling moon pearl into Dabeo's mouth. As the terrifying pressure around him lightened, Dabeo immediately became active. Lu Ping gave Dabeo a few instructions, and then pointed to the location of Dabeo's cave residence. Dabeo raised his forelimbs and actually made a gesture of patting his chest to reassure Lu Ping. Then, he plunged into the underwater mountain range, leaving behind a somewhat incredulous Lu Ping. How could Dabeo support his fat pig-like body with 2 hind legs? After a long time, Lu Ping realized that he was in the sea and not on land. After a while, Lu Dagawei's body, which was almost 10 feet in circumference, swam towards Lu Ping's direction. Lu Ping frowned and said, "Where is Samling?" Lu Dagawei said helplessly, "The 3 of them took advantage of the time when I used the excuse of visiting Dao Master Aoyu to attract the guards of the cave residence, and quietly ran into the valley." Only then did Lu Ping remember that after Samling advanced to the core forging stage, he comprehended a magical power inherited from the green sea snake's bloodline, called water transformation. It could turn his whole body into a pool of invisible water and quietly sneak into the valley. Lu Ping shook his head and smiled bitterly. "These 3 mischievous guys always cause trouble for me. Get ready to help them. The magical power of water transformation can't last for too long. If the valley is heavily guarded, the 3 of them will definitely be discovered." Sure enough, not long after, there was a sudden scream from the demon beasts in the valley. Turbulent waves of magic power were followed by a series of roars. Taking advantage of the chaos, Lu Ping broke into the valley and found that it was already a pot of porridge. Not far away, there were several corpses lying on the ground. Most of them were demon beasts in the blood condensation stage. Lu Ping extended his divine sense and immediately captured Samling's current situation. At this time, Samling was surrounded by demon beasts. However, the demon beasts surrounding them didn't seem to be in a hurry to kill them. Instead, they formed an encirclement. A mid-stage core forging stage demon cultivator stood in the middle of the encirclement and fought with Samling. In the distance, there were a few mid-stage core forging stage demon beasts who seemed to be watching the battle. At the same time, they were pointing and talking excitedly. Lu Ping suddenly felt relieved. Obviously, these demon beasts thought Samling was a child who had mistakenly entered this place to play. Moreover, Samling had cultivated to the shape-shifting stage at such a young age. Obviously, He had a relatively noble bloodline among the demon beasts. He might even be a junior from a large clan who came to seek novelty. These demon beasts naturally didn't want to offend him. Samling followed Lu Ping everywhere. Although he had only cultivated for a short period of time, he had seen a lot and was quite clever. Naturally, he had already discovered the intentions of the surrounding demon beasts. He immediately realized that this was a good opportunity to attract the attention of the guarding demon beasts and prepare for Lu Ping to sneak into the cave mansion. Therefore, Samling's attacks became more and more fierce. For a moment, the mid-stage core forging stage demon beasts were defeated by Samling, who was only at the first stage of the core forging stage. In the hands of the three spirits, there were now magic weapons carefully refined by Qianlian. In the hands of Lu Qing was a 30-foot-long wind forest whip, in the hands of Lu Hai was a huge heaven halberd, and in the hands of Lu Linger was a pair of exquisite and sharp ice daggers. Lu Hai was the main attacker with the heaven halberd in his hand. Lu Qing was floating in the sea, and a wind forest whip was restraining the middle-stage core forging realm demon cultivator on the opposite side. Lu Linger was like a ghost, appearing and disappearing around the demon cultivator. The pair of ice daggers were like the poisonous fangs in her mouth. Once the opponent came into contact with her daggers, a cold chill would pass through the opponent's clothes and magical weapon and go straight into the body, as if to freeze the opponent's Zhen Yuan. The demon beasts who dealt with Samling cursed. Although his cultivation was much higher than Samling's, he was restrained in the battle against Samling. It was difficult for him to exert his strength. Moreover, the three little snakes in front of him were the children of unknown families. They were so difficult to deal with when they joined hands. Originally, the demon beast wanted to play with these three children, but he did not expect that he would become the object of ridicule by these fellow cultivators around him. Lu Ping sneaked into the depths of the valley with the art of deceiving the heavens and crossing the sea. He secretly sighed that these demon beasts guarding the valley were so lax. However, when he arrived at the valley, Lu Ping's eyes flashed with blue light. Looking at this defensive formation, Lu Ping understood the reason. Although Lu Ping was not a formation master, he often exchanged cultivation experiences with Hu Lili, so Lu Ping was no stranger to formations. On the contrary, because of the mysterious purple jade slip that Lu Ping brought out of Fei Ling Island, some of the fantastic ideas that Lu Ping proposed had inspired Hu Lili a lot, causing Hu Lili to often sigh that it was a pity that Lu Ping did not become a formation master. Looking at the cave mansion shrouded in white light, Lu Ping frowned. Lu Ping had only seen a formation of this level in some of the inheritance places on Tianling Mountain. Moreover, because of the existence of Tianling Mountain's defensive formation, these formations guarding the inheritance places were not fully activated. Even so, the power of those formations still surprised Lu Ping. But now, what Lu Ping was facing was a fully activated formation. Even if Dharma form Laozu came, it would not be easy to break this formation easily. Lu Ping hid in an inconspicuous corner at the bottom of the valley. He stretched out his hand and gently knocked on the ground. Debeo, who had the water and moon avoiding pearl in his mouth, drilled out of the ground with a dejected expression. As Lu Ping expected, such a powerful defensive formation had obviously isolated Debeo's earthmeld technique. Daguay had determined that this was the cave mansion of Taoist Master Aou. When Taoist Master Lu Hai used Daguay as a mount at the bottom of the sea, he personally handed over the treasures sent from the East Sea to Taoist Master Aou here. Just when Lu Ping was a little helpless, there was a sudden burst of cheers in the valley. The battle between the Samling and the middle stage core forging realm beast cultivator had been decided. The middle stage core forging realm cultivator had just gotten rid of Lu Qingfeng's forest whip, but his shoulder was pierced by Lu Linger's ice dagger. A bitter cold penetrated into his Zhen Yuan, causing half of the middle stage core forging realm beast cultivator's body to be numb. Lu Hai took the opportunity to pass the halberd to the beast cultivator's throat. The noise of the surrounding beast cultivators lasted for a long time. The sound of ridicule and abuse was heard everywhere. Obviously, it was because a middle-stage core forging realm cultivator had been defeated by three little guys who had just advanced to the core forging realm not long ago. Just when Lu Ping had the intention to retreat, the protective formation at the bottom of the valley actually operated on its own. A bright light appeared from the formation and penetrated outside the cave mansion. Obviously, someone was going to come out of the cave mansion. Lu Ping was shocked. Is there someone in the cave mansion? Could it be that Taoist Master Ao Yu had already returned to his cave mansion? At this time, Lu Ping was so close to the protective formation. Even with the rock armor, Lu Ping was not sure that he could avoid the detection of a 9th-level core Forging Realm Master. Thinking of the power that Lu Ping saw in the distance that day, Taoist Master Xianin and the middle-aged cultivator who might be Taoist Master Ao Yu showed. Although Lu Ping's cultivation had improved, he also knew that he was not an opponent of Taoist Master Xianin, a 9th-level core Forging Realm cultivator. Back then, Taoist Master Ao Yu had yet to reach the Gold Core stage. However, he was able to stand up to Taoist Master Li Xianin as an equal. If Taoist Master Ao Yu had also reached the Gold Core stage, his strength would likely be above Taoist Master Li Xianin. Lu Ping slapped Dabao into the ground. At the same time, he carefully retracted his aura and hid in a corner, not daring to move. At the same time, a water whip appeared in his hand. At present, the golden scale sword was still in Taoist Master Enigma Flame's hand. After thinking about it for a long time, he was not confident that he could personally upgrade the golden scale sword. Instead, he handed it over to his teacher. The activation of the mansion protecting array had clearly alarmed the Yao guards who were watching the battle between Samling and the other Yao cultivators. Including the Yao cultivator that Samling defeated earlier, there were a total of 3 mid-stage core Forging Realm Yao cultivators and 5 early-stage core Forging Realm Yao cultivators. The rest were half-step transformation realm Yao cultivators at the blood condensation realm. They all had strange appearances. Some had the head of a shrimp, some had the head of a human, and some had the body of a fish. However, when they saw the activation of the mansion protecting array, their expressions turned solemn and they stood up straight. A passageway appeared from the bottom of the valley, passing through the mansion protecting array. Lu Ping narrowed his eyes. Traces of cyan light seemed to flash within them as he looked at the passageway. A young cultivator, who appeared to be about the same age as Lu Ping, walked out with an arrogant expression on his face. When Lu Ping saw that this cultivator's face was 80% similar to that of Taoist Master Ao Yu, he breathed a long sigh of relief. It was just a 6th-level core Forging Realm cultivator. Additionally, he did not notice Lu Ping. The young Yao cultivator frowned and turned to look behind him. It seemed as though he had overlooked something. However, he then turned to look at the scattered cultivators in the valley and shouted, "Why is it so noisy?" The cultivators in the valley were as silent as cicadas in winter. The young cultivator's eyes turned sharp, and he immediately turned to look at Samling, who was standing alone in the middle of the valley. His face sank greatly, and he pointed at Samling and exclaimed, "By Green Sea Snake?" His voice had only just faded when a cold killing intent seeped out from the back of his head. Especially after Lu Ping used the 9th rank White Jade Lotus as his life-bonded array diagram and the 12 gentian beads to finally perfect the 12 gentian array, the power of Lu Ping's life-bonded magic treasure reached a higher level. Before he used the 9th rank White Jade Lotus as his life-bonded array diagram, the 12 gentian beads were powerful, but every time Lu Ping used them, he had to spend a lot of divine sense to first construct a divine sense array diagram within the range of the 12 gentian beads to control the operation of the 12 gentian array. Although the power was not small, the consumption on Lu Ping's divine sense and true essence was really unbearable for Lu Ping. Now, with the 9th rank White Jade Lotus as the core array diagram, Lu Ping only needed to spend his true essence and divine sense to activate the array diagram, and he could easily control the 12 gentian array diagram. Although the consumption of true essence and divine sense was still worlds apart compared to other people's life-bonded magic treasures, for Lu Ping, who had far more vigorous true essence and tyrannical divine sense than cultivators of the same level, it was nothing. Not to mention that the perfect gentian array diagram was much more powerful than before. Lu Ping had secluded himself for 5 years on Huangli Island, and then cultivated for a year in the Pill Pavilion's land of inheritance to break through to the 5th layer of the core forging realm. During this time, Lu Ping finally engraved the 4th restriction on the 12 gentian beads, upgrading the 12 gentian beads to the level of a psychic magic treasure. However, The ninth-rank White Jade Lotus array diagram still only had 3 restrictions, so the upgrade of the array diagram was even more difficult than the 12 gentian beads. Moreover, Lu Ping did not have a suitable restriction in his hands. Even so, Lu Ping's 9th-rank White Jade Lotus was a true flower king that had been nurtured for 9,000 years, and its quality was even higher than Lu Ping's 12 gentian beads. Although it had not advanced to the level of a psychic magic treasure, its power was no less than that of the gentian beads. Lu Ping's life-bonded magic treasure immediately imprisoned 4 mid-stage core forging realm cultivators of the same level as him. The many demon cultivators that followed behind him were immediately frightened, and those who were quick-witted immediately tried to slip away. Unexpectedly, just as they turned around, they were caught by a wind forest whip, and then a large halberd slashed horizontally at them, immediately splitting them in half. Lu Ping also swung the water whip in his hand. The eyes of the 2 mid-stage core forging realm demon cultivators that rushed towards him were filled with fear, but their bodies could not break free from Lu Ping's imprisonment. They wanted to open their mouths to howl, but found that their mouths did not listen to them. Immediately afterward, they felt their bodies become light, and the world suddenly turned upside down, and then they lost consciousness. Ao Wushuang, who was imprisoned by Lu Ping, saw with his own eyes how easily his 2 subordinates were killed by the long whip magic treasure in Lu Ping's hand. He was suddenly frightened, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes. A white bead suddenly emerged from his chest, and a strange chill raged, and the surrounding seawater imprisoned by Lu Ping immediately froze into ice. Ao Wushuang's body shook, and the frozen seawater was immediately minced into a pile of broken ice by the 2 cold swords that appeared behind Ao Wushuang. Lu Ping's sea-calming magical power was broken. However, Ao Wushuang had long been frightened by Lu Ping's previous method of casually killing 2 subordinates of similar cultivation level to his own. He had long lost the courage to fight against Lu Ping. After using the strange cold bead to break Lu Ping's imprisonment, he turned around and fled out of the valley. Dragon Ice Bead. Father, you must not let him escape. Among the Samling, Lu Linger, who was usually the most mischievous, saw the white bead and immediately shouted to Lu Ping. At the same time, she jumped forward, intending to stop Ao Wushuang. However, Ao Wushuang was, after all, a 6th-stage core forging realm expert. Among cultivators of the same level, there were few who could rival him. This time, Lu Ping had taken the initiative. The 2 consecutive whip attacks had seriously injured Ao Wushuang. Then, the power of the 12 gentian Great Formation made him scared out of his wits. He had long lost the courage to fight against Lu Ping. If he didn't have the strange cold bead on him, perhaps he would have already closed his eyes and waited for death. But now, Ao Wushuang only wanted to escape. Even if Lu Linger was the green sea snake, how could she be the opponent of a 6th-stage core forging realm cultivator? Not to mention that Ao Wushuang's origin was not much lower than the green sea snake. When Lu Ping heard Lu Linger shout, his heart skipped a beat. He wanted to stop Ao Wushuang from escaping. However, the mid-core forging realm cultivator who blocked Ao Wushuang's escape was also freed after Ao Wushuang broke Lu Ping's sea-calming technique. Now, in order for Ao Wushuang to escape, the mid-core forging realm cultivator desperately rushed towards Lu Ping. In desperation, Lu Ping waved the water whip in his hand. The surrounding seawater, driven by the water whip, formed a surging water wall in front of Lu Ping. The demonic cultivator, who was covering Ao Wushuang's escape, was unafraid of death. This made Lu Ping a lot more cautious. However, when the cultivator's flying sword stabbed into the water wall in front of Lu Ping, the demonic cultivator suddenly felt as if his long sword had entered a huge vortex. The flying sword began to spin involuntarily. No matter how hard the demonic cultivator shouted, he could not regain control of the flying sword. By then, Lu Ping's nether aqua sword was already in front of the demonic cultivator. Just as it was about to kill him, however, Lu Ping's expression suddenly changed. A blue light flashed out from his chest, and a somewhat broken flag suddenly appeared above Lu Ping's head. Immediately after, a cracking sound rang out and the flying sword, which had almost lost control of itself, suddenly exploded. The scattered magic treasure fragments shot out in all directions. The water whip, which had been dancing like a nimble snake inside the water wall, was struck by the magic treasure fragments. Like a wounded mudfish, it no longer possessed its previous agility. The undercurrent inside the water wall could no longer stop the scattered fragments, and it immediately collapsed. However, the broken flag above Lu Ping's head shone with an ink-black light. The magic treasure fragments were all embedded in this light. Unable to move an inch further, Lu Ping gave a cold snort. He did not want to almost fall into the demonic cultivator's trap. His face was so cold that a layer of frost seemed to form over it. He did not even pick up the water whip that had fallen to the ground. Instead, he stared coldly at the demonic cultivator who was grinning at him. A clump of red light appeared on the demonic cultivator's chest. Next, the demonic cultivator's entire body was dyed in bright red light, making him look like a cooked prawn. The demonic cultivator wanted to blow up his gold core. Clearly, he wanted to die together with Lu Ping. However, at this moment, the human cultivator who was right in front of him coldly shouted, "God strike." The demonic cultivator felt a chill in his chest. Next, he felt as if he had lost all his strength. When he looked down, a bowl-sized hole had appeared on his chest. The demonic cultivator gave Lu Ping a look of despair before falling to the ground. In that split second, a scream was heard. Lu Linger had been sent flying by Ao Wushuang with a pair of ice swords, and Ao Wushuang had fled. Lu Qing and Lu Hai, who were blocking the other demonic cultivators, exclaimed at the same time. They put down their opponents and ran to the place where Lu Linger had fallen. Lu Ping was furious. An angry snort suddenly exploded in Ao Wushuang's mind. Ao Wushuang screamed, and his flying speed suddenly slowed down. Lu Ping had already used his flying ability and appeared behind Ao Wushuang. Ao Wushuang endured the pain in his mind, which was like being stabbed by needles and knives. He wanted to force his way away, but he suddenly found that the surrounding seawater had imprisoned him again. Ao Wushuang's heart sank. He knew that he could no longer escape, so he simply shouted, "You can't kill me. My father is the patriarch of the Ice Dragon clan, Aou. I am the only heir of the Ice Dragon clan. If you kill me, not only will my father kill you, but the entire North Sea Demon clan will also kill you." Before Ao Wushuang could finish his words, he heard a bone-chilling voice coming from behind him, "God strike." A glittering and translucent pearl drew a long shadow in the sea and shot toward Ao Wushuang. Ao Wushuang opened his mouth and spat out the cold pearl from before. He immediately blocked this gentian pearl in front of him. However, before he could rejoice, a series of sharp pain buried his consciousness. Ao Wushuang's body had been smashed by the other 11 gentian pearls. With a poof, the pearl emitting a cold white mist fell to the ground. Chapter 452. Ignoring the fleeing monsters, Lu Ping walked quickly towards Lu Linger, only to see Lu Linger lying in Lu Hai's arms, ignoring the blood overflowing from the corner of her mouth, and shouted to Lu Ping, "Father, the Ice Dragon Pearl and the storage device." Lu Ping saw that although Lu Linger was seriously injured, her spirit was still good. He knew that it was not a big deal, so he smiled and said, "They always say that Debao is a miser, but I think little Linger is the biggest miser. You don't even care about your own injury?" As Lu Ping spoke, he waved his hand backwards, and the Ice Dragon Pearl and the storage device on Ao Wushuang immediately flew towards Lu Ping's hand. At this moment, Lu Linger seemed to think of something and cried eagerly, "Father, be careful of the Ice Dragon Pearl." However, Lu Linger's warning was a little late. As soon as the Ice Dragon Pearl was in his hand, Lu Ping felt a strange chill penetrating into his flesh and blood from his palm, and at the same time, following the blood flow to his heart. Along the way, it seemed to freeze Lu Ping's whole body into ice. Lu Ping let out a light hut sound, and his whole body's zhenqi fluctuated. The strange chill that went against the blood flow was immediately dissolved by Lu Ping's zhenqi, which was smelted by Xinyuan heavy water. Seeing that Lu Ping was fine, Lu Linger breathed a sigh of relief and suddenly felt tired. Lu Ping fed a good healing pill into Lu Linger's mouth, and was about to put Lu Linger into the spiritual beast bag to recuperate. But he heard Lu Linger say anxiously, "Father, can you let Linger have a look at the ice dragon pearl?" Lu Ping smiled and said, "Not now. We are now in the abyss, the base camp of the monster race. We have made such a big noise, and dozens of monsters have escaped. I am afraid it will not be long before other monster cultivators come to kill us. We have to leave as soon as possible, so as not to be surrounded." As soon as Lu Ping's voice fell, he saw Lu Linger's small mouth pouting. Lu Ping smiled and said, "But I promise you, I will give you the ice dragon pearl after we go out." Only then did Lu Linger reluctantly agree. She pointed a finger behind Lu Ping and said, "All right, but I want that pair of ice swords." Lu Ping looked at the pair of ice swords left behind by Ao Wushuang. They were his natal mystic treasures, a pair of spirit-connected mystic treasures with 4 layers of seals. However, he smiled and said, "Sure, but you will have to wait for your cultivation to increase a little. Right now, you are probably still unable to use the psychic flying sword." Lu Linger nodded and said, "Linger will definitely work hard to cultivate." Lu Ping patted Lu Linger's little head with relief, and then put her into the storage bag. Looking at Lu Qing and Lu Hai, who were standing on both sides with envious expressions, Lu Ping smiled and said, "You 2 little devils, even your little sister's things are coveting. Don't worry, in the future, I will find the same good things for you. But you have to work hard to cultivate." Lu Qing and Lu Hai nodded their little heads like chickens pecking rice. Lu Ping laughed and said, "You 2 pack up the good things of the fallen core forging stage monster cultivators. I want to see how to break this formation as soon as possible, otherwise I am afraid it will be too late." On the Golden Jiao Island in the southeast of the North Sea, the Golden Jiao Island Lord, who had already advanced to the Dharma stage a few years ago, was hosting a banquet to entertain a middle-aged cultivator. The Golden Jiao Island Lord looked at the cultivator in front of him and laughed. "Brother Ao Chuang, I didn't expect that after so many years, you would make such a big move." The half-step Dharma adept of Zhenling and the Dharma adept Laozu of Xianling sect are both dead and injured. The 2 sects are probably at daggers drawn now, and the North Sea human race is on the verge of civil war. I really admire you. The middle-aged cultivator, Ao Chuang, slowly put down the wine glass in his hand, and a slight smile appeared on his calm face. He said, "Brother Ao Chuang, you flatter me. I am also being selfish. That Dao sure killed my sister with his own hands, and that Li Xianyin deserves to die even more. If he had not made a solemn vow, my sister would not have married him so wholeheartedly. But the truth is that my sister has fallen, and he is still alive, and living as gloriously as the person who killed my sister. What 3 truths and 4 spirits, true shadow, half-step Dharma adept. In my opinion, these people should have died long ago, but now it is already too late to make a move." The Golden Jiao Island Lord, Ao Chuang, laughed and said, "Well said, Brother Ao Chuang. These human cultivators are used to sweet-talking and scheming. On normal days, they fight with the demon race, and behind closed doors, they also fight among themselves. It is ridiculous and infuriating to see. None of them are good people, and it is better for them to die as soon as possible." Ao Yu did not seem to find Ao Chuang's scolding funny at all, and continued to say slowly, "But just based on this scheme, it is not enough to cause the Jinling and Xianling sects to completely fall out. In the end, it is just the high-level practitioners of the 2 sects showing their fangs to each other and intimidate each other. As for the internal strife, when did the 2 sects stop? It is just that the intensity of the internal strife is different." When the Golden Jiao Island Lord, Ao Chuang, saw the indifferent face of enlightened Master Ao Yu, who was known as the last hope of the Ice Dragon clan, he also showed an interested smile and said, "It seems that Brother Ao Yu has a follow-up plan?" The corner of Ao Yu's eyes twitched, but there was a trace of invisible murderous intent in his indifferent tone. He chuckled and said, "My nephew is the offspring of a human and a demon, but my brother-in-law has been using the name of a personal disciple to cover it up. I wonder how big of a wave it will cause when this matter spreads to the human cultivation world of the North Sea." Ao Chuang, Laozu, slapped his thigh and said, "Brother Ao Yu, good plan. Since ancient times, demons and Jinling have never coexisted with each other. Now that the North Sea's cultivation world is getting stronger and Xianling sect is getting weaker, Xianling sect will definitely not give up any excuse to suppress Xianling. As long as this news spreads, Xianling's crime of colluding with our clan will be more real. Even if the two sects do not break out into a war because of this, there will be a lot of internal strife in the dark. Aou smiled reservedly, picked up the wine cup in front of him and drank 2 mouthfuls, but unexpectedly, his face changed. What he drank was wine, but what he spat out was blood. Aou's face turned pale, and his previous elegance and restraint were immediately thrown out of the sky. He stood up abruptly and shouted, "How dare you?" Ao Chuang's face also changed. He stood up and asked, "Brother Aou, is there something wrong with the cave mansion? If there is anything you need Big Brother's help, just say it." Aou's pale face now turned black. He nodded and said in a cold voice, "My son Ao Wushuang is probably dead. Someone broke into my ice dragon cave mansion." Ao Chuang was shocked at first, then he let out an ah. Then, he flew into a rage and said, "Who dares to be so bold? Don't they know that the Ice Dragon clan is under the protection of my primordial giant crocodile clan? If I, Ao Chuang, find out, I will definitely slaughter his clan." Then, Ao Chuang seemed to think of something and forced himself to calm down. He said, "Brother Aou, I am sorry for nephew Wushuang's death." Aou seemed to have not heard Ao Chuang's furious roar earlier. Instead, he was quietly thinking about something. When he heard Ao Chuang's words, he suddenly laughed in a strange manner, causing Ao Chuang to be stunned. He asked in a somewhat confused manner, "Brother Aou, you are?" Aou's face was full of smiles, but his mouth was so cold that it could condense into ice. He said, "Brother Ao Chuang, it may not be a member of my clan." Ao Chuang was stunned. He shook his head and said, "You are saying that someone has sneaked into the deep-sea demon region? Absolutely impossible. The deep-sea demon region is heavily guarded. No one can quietly sneak into the deep-sea demon region without being discovered." Aou still had an unpredictable smile on his face. He smiled at Ao Chuang and said, "Brother Ao Chuang, thank you for your hospitality. I want to return to the cave house as soon as possible and personally tear the murderer of my son into pieces." Ao Chuang was stunned, but he did not immediately agree. Instead, he said, "Brother Aou, I know you are eager for revenge. However, at this time, Jinling's late core forging realm masters are looking for your traces in the entire North Sea cultivation world. I am afraid that there are already spies of various sects lying in ambush outside Golden Dragon Island. Once you leave Golden Dragon Island, I am afraid that you will immediately face the pursuit of Jinling's cultivators." Ao Chuang looked at Aou's disapproving expression and continued, "How about this? The situation in the Ice Dragon's cave house has already attracted the attention of our clan's cultivators in the demon region. I believe that there will be people going to investigate very soon. I will now send a manifestation talisman down and strictly order our clan's experts to pursue and kill the murderer of nephew Wushuang. At the same time, I will order people to protect the Ice Dragon's cave house. What do you think?" Aou shook his head and said, "Thank you, Brother Ao Chuang. However, I still need to hurry to the vicinity of Huanyu Island as soon as possible. If the person who invaded the Ice Dragon's cave house is really a human or demon cultivator, then this person will definitely appear near Huanyu Island." Ao Chuang wanted to ask for the reason, but when he opened his mouth, he said, "Huanyu Island? You must not go there. That is the territory of that crazy woman, Tian Shui. Once you appear there, she will dare to violate the manifestation Laozu's rule of not participating in battles and kill you. I, your elder brother, do not have the ability to rescue you from under her hands. At that time, if you die, even our clan's Laozu will not be able to do anything to her." Aou smashed the table in front of him with a punch. The cold light in his eyes became sharper and the corner of his eyes twitched more intensely. However, the smile on his face also became brighter. He opened his mouth and said, "Good, good, good." 3 words. Endless killing intent pervaded the golden flood dragon Laozu's cave house. Immediately after, he spat out a mouthful of blood and shouted, "Wushuang, my son, you are killing me." At this time, Lu Ping, who was in the valley, naturally didn't know that Taoist Aou, who was hiding in the Golden Flood Dragon Island, had almost gone crazy because of Ao Wushuang's death. At this moment, he was standing in front of the cave house that was surrounded by the mansion protecting Grand Array, thinking about how to open the mansion protecting Grand Array as soon as possible. This was because Lu Ping knew that he didn't have much time here. He was afraid that the experts of the demon domain had already rushed to the Ice Dragon cave house. Now, I can only hope that Debao can do it. Just at the moment when Ao Wushuang came out of the cave house, Debao took the risk to sneak into the cave house through the passage that Ao Wushuang opened. At that time, Ao Wushuang was attracted by the movement in the valley, so he didn't notice Debao's trace. However, this mansion protecting Grand Array was obviously very powerful. Even if Debao found the array disk, he would be helpless. Lu Ping thought about it. Now, he could only break the mansion protecting Grand Array by force. Hopefully, he could make it in time. Chapter 453. In front of the Ice Dragon Immortal Cave, Lu Ping held the 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash in his hand for the first time. The 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash slowly rose in Lu Ping's hand, and a colorful light flickered on the surface of the calabash, as if there was a great power brewing within it. Lu Ping's face was dignified, and his whole body's Zhenyuan was poured into the 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash in midair, and the surface of the 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash was surrounded by more and more colorful lightning. Just when the entire 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash was wrapped in lightning, Lu Ping's eyes were fixed on the defensive array in front of him, and he shouted, "Fall!" Boom! Crackle! With a loud noise, 7 different colored lightning burst out from the 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash, which had already turned into a ball of lightning. The 7 lightning bolts were like a lightning rope in the air, entangled and twisted together, and a 7-colored lightning bolt fell on the defensive array with lightning speed. After that, there was a deafening explosion, and the surrounding seawater, with the underwater valley as the center. A strong wave spread in all directions. Lu Ping had already realized that the moment the 7-colored lightning bolt fell, and the broken water control flag had already been raised above his head. However, the power of the 7 Treasures Thunder Calabash, which had already reached the small success stage, still left Lu Ping dumbfounded. This was not close to the power of a great magical power. This was simply a real great magical power. Even if Lu Ping had the golden scale sword in his hand, and used the 100 rivers flow into the sea sword formation, its power was only this much. However, before Lu Ping could wake up from the excitement of having a great magical power again, the tenacity of the defensive array in front of him made Lu Ping feel somewhat helpless. The entire protective array formation seemed to have been weakened by Lu Ping's attacks, but it didn't break through the array formation. The entire array formation was still operating in an orderly manner, and it seemed that the array formation was connected to the underground spirit vein. If Lu Ping continued his attacks, the array formation would quickly recover with the support of the spirit vein. Lu Ping dared not be negligent. Debao was still trapped inside the grotto mansion. If he could not break the great array protecting the grotto mansion before the reinforcements from the Yao clan arrived, not only would he be unable to obtain the treasures inside, Debao would also be trapped inside the grotto mansion. The 7 Thunder Treasures gourd was once again wrapped in a ball of lightning. With a loud bang, the great defensive formation was shaken again. This time, the great defensive formation seemed to be on the verge of collapse. Lu Ping made a prompt decision. Ignoring the temporary impediment of the circulation of the true essence in his body caused by the full use of the 7 Thunder Treasures gourd, a 9th-grade white jade lotus rose from his chest and stopped above the great defensive formation. The 12 gentian beads slowly rotated around the white jade lotus. Lu Ping took a deep breath and circulated the true essence in his body. The impediment caused by the continuous use of the great magical power immediately recovered. Lu Ping stretched out his palm and clenched it tightly. He shouted in a low voice, suppressing mountain. 12 dark blue true essences shot out from the white jade lotus and connected with the 12 surrounding pearls. At the same time, the 12 gentian beads also emitted a dark blue light and connected with each other. The entire natal magic weapon formed a tight formation above the great defensive formation. At this moment, The white jade lotus, along with the 12 pearls, suddenly sank down. A dull roar spread in all directions. The light of the entire great defensive formation suddenly dimmed. It seemed as if a gust of wind could blow the entire formation away. Lu Ping's face just showed a hint of joy. However, a long whistling sound came from afar. Lu Ping's complexion changed. He thought that it was coming so fast. Although Lu Ping was anxious, his spirit became more and more calm. His eyes shone with a bright blue light. The veins of the formation that he couldn't clearly see before were gradually revealed under the gaze of the 3 pure true eyes. Lu Ping's heart leaped with joy. He slowly uttered 2 words, God strike. The 12 gentian beads collided with the 12 flaws that Lu Ping had just discovered. At this moment, a majestic roar came from afar. Who dares to cause trouble in the deep-sea demon domain? As soon as the voice fell, a spiritual sense had already spread in the direction of Lu Ping. Lu Ping's expression turned cold. The person who came was obviously a late-stage core forging cultivator. Lu Ping's heart moved. A spiritual sense had already formed a spiritual sense barrier around Lu Ping. When the opponent's spiritual sense wanted to explore Lu Ping's identity, it was firmly blocked by Lu Ping's spiritual sense. Now Lu Ping could only temporarily delay the exposure of his identity as a human. Otherwise, once the demon race found out that the deep-sea demon domain was actually infiltrated by a human cultivator, then it wouldn't just be this cultivator, but the entire deep-sea demon domain would be alarmed. Sure enough, the opponent's spiritual sense was blocked by Lu Ping. A cold snort exploded around Lu Ping. Hiding your head but showing your tail. You actually dared to plot the inheritance cave of the Ice Python clan. Aren't you afraid of provoking the revenge of my primordial giant crocodile clan? As soon as the voice fell, dozens of miles away, another 2 late-stage core forging cultivators' auras rose and oppressed in the direction of Lu Ping. Lu Ping was very anxious. He accelerated the transmission of true essence to the Gentian Great Formation by 30%. The entire white jade lotus platform erupted with a bright spiritual light. Walala! Like a broken porcelain, the entire Great Formation was finally broken under the attack of the gentian beads. Debao had already dragged his heavy body towards Lu Ping. Lu Ping's expression stagnated. Although Debao loved treasures, he had always cherished his life. This time, how many things had he plundered inside that he couldn't even walk steadily? Lu Ping didn't have time to think about the reason. He put Debao into the spiritual pet bag and Lu Qing and Lu Hai on the side. Now the 3 late-stage core forging cultivators behind him had divided into 3 directions and surrounded Lu Ping. Lu Ping looked at the cave mansion that had been opened to him and cursed fiercely. He turned and ran in the direction of the teleportation array that Taoist Master Ao Yu had secretly set up. Lu Ping's heart was bleeding. Although Debao had plundered inside before, Lu Ping also saw the big words, Ice Dragon Cave Mansion, engraved on the cave mansion before he left. In addition to the voice of the monster cultivator just now, Lu Ping vaguely guessed that this cave mansion was not only Taoist Master Ao Yu's cave mansion, but also the inheritance of the Ice Dragon clan. Then there must be a lot of treasures in it. Unfortunately, Lu Ping had no time to explore this treasure house. Although Debao had a spirit-seeking innate talent, this talent was limited in many ways. If a spirit stone and a heaven and earth spirit treasure were placed inside, perhaps it was because of the spirit sealing talisman on the heaven and earth spirit treasure that prevented the heaven and earth spirit treasure's spiritual chi from leaking out. Then Debao might treat the spirit stone as a treasure and ignore the heaven and earth spirit treasure beside it. Lu Ping gave up quickly, but the cultivator chasing behind him was faster. Before Lu Ping could escape, the cultivator with the majestic voice had already roared, "Where are you going? Eat my hammer first." Lu Ping immediately sensed that the opponent's magic treasure had not arrived, but a huge wave of water pressure had already arrived behind Lu Ping. Lu Ping firmly wrapped himself with his divine sense, not daring to turn around to face the enemy, afraid that his identity would be exposed. Just now, the monster cultivators guarding the Ice Dragon Cave Mansion had basically all transformed and were killed by the joint forces of Lu Ping and Samling. The remaining blood condensation monster cultivators would not be able to report the situation here directly to the late core forging cultivators. When the three late-stage core forging cultivators found the teleportation array in the crack on the seabed, the teleportation array that had just been activated was slowly extinguishing. The three demonic practitioners' faces changed drastically, and one of them stepped in front of the teleportation array, looked down, and said coldly, "Oh no, this is the teleportation array that teleports to the outside of the deep-sea demonic territory. That person is very likely to be a human cultivator." The person who spoke was obviously the demonic practitioner who attacked Lu Ping with the meteor hammer. Another demonic practitioner suddenly said, "No wonder this person has been attaching his divine sense to his body and did not let us see his face. I am afraid that his identity as a human will be exposed." The third demonic practitioner asked, "What should we do now?" The first demonic practitioner gritted his teeth and said, "Chase, we must not let this person escape." The teleportation array flashed again, and the spiritual light disappeared. The previous three late-stage core forging cultivators had disappeared from the deep-sea demonic territory. Chapter 454. The banquet on Golden Flood Dragon Island had already ended. Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord, Ao Chuang, was sitting at the banquet where Taoist Master Ao Yu was being held. No one knew what he was thinking. From behind the screen behind Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord, a burly man with an ugly face walked out. He approached Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord and said in a low voice, "Father, Ao Yu has already left Golden Flood Dragon Island?" "Yes, I know." Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord replied indifferently, "Father knows? Then why?" The burly man asked in puzzlement. Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord Ao Chuang glanced at the burly man from the corner of his eyes and said, "Is there anything on this island that I don't know? Since Ao Yu suspects that the intruder is a human, then he naturally has his reasons. We only need to save his life when Tian Shui finds him." The burly man seemed to understand and asked, "Father, are you guessing that there is a secret path that connects to the deep-sea demon region, and Ao Yu knows about it?" Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord Ao Chuang sneered. Back then, In Chu and Li Xianin got together. How could In Chu enter and exit the deep-sea demon region without being discovered by the humans and demons? Huanyu Island is not a secret realm, but a secret teleportation array. The burly man's heart skipped a beat and he said, "Then could this place really have been exposed to the humans?" Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord looked at his son helplessly, but he still explained, "No, if the intruder is really a human, then the secret of the teleportation array must have been accidentally discovered by him. Otherwise, Jinling would not have exposed the secret of the teleportation array so easily." Although In Chu was secretly in love with Li Xianin, she did not betray the demon race. She told Li Xianin about the teleportation array she built in secret to meet her lover, but she would never have thought that her own brother would betray her and let Xinling's Dao Shi know about her identity. Naturally, Dao Shi was overjoyed and wanted to kill the two before revealing In Chu's identity as a demon to make Xinling suffer in silence. Who would have thought that In Chu would be so strong-willed as to explode her dragon ice pearl in order for her lover to escape? There was some admiration on the burly man's face. He said that Li Xianin is too cowardly. He actually abandoned his wife and escaped alone. He still has the face to live until now. However, to be able to muster the courage to assassinate Dao Shi this time, he can be considered a man even before his death. But why did Ao Yu betray his sister? And why is Ao Yu surnamed Ao, while his sister's surname is In? Moreover, if Ao Yu wanted to scheme against Li Xianin, why would he wait for such a long time? I heard that Ao Yu obtained the treasure from the East Sea. No matter what, he is about to achieve an 8th grade golden core. Why didn't he make a move after refining the treasure? That way, his chances of success would be higher. Perhaps Dao Shi Laozu would have already perished at their hands. The Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord smiled calmly. There was no trace of the previous generosity he had when he invited Ao Yu. He said, "You don't have the qualifications to know about the matters of the Ice Dragon clan. As for why Ao Yu made a move now, it's because Li Xianin is about to achieve the Dharma realm. At that time, even if Ao Yu refines the treasure and achieves an 8th grade golden core, and achieves the Dharma realm, even if his strength is above Li Xuanin's, it won't be easy to kill him. Seeing the burly man in front of him scratching his head in confusion, the Golden Flood Dragon Island Lord waved his hand with waning interest. He said, "When you advance to the Dharma realm one day, you will understand." Aou firmly believed that the person who broke into his cave dwelling and killed his beloved son was definitely a human cultivator. Moreover, he must have entered the deep-sea demon region through his secret teleportation array. Then, this person would definitely escape from here. He wanted to kill the murderer who almost ended the Ice Dragon clan's inheritance here, even if he had to take the risk of being discovered by Tian Shui of Huanyu Island, because he believed that the primordial giant crocodile clan would definitely send someone to save him. The teleportation array in front of him finally lit up. Aou immediately became excited. At that time, he and Li Xianin had joined hands to heavily injure Dao Shilao. When they gained the upper hand, they suddenly counterattacked and killed Li Xianin. He was also this excited. A cold ice pearl wrapped in a strange cold mist slowly rose from the top of Aou's head. If Lu Ping was here, he would definitely know that this was another ice dragon pearl. Moreover, the power displayed by this ice dragon pearl was simply incomparable to the ice dragon pearl that Ao Wushuang used. This was a great divine ability of the Ice Dragon clan. It required the Ice Dragon Pearl unique to the Ice Dragon clan to be used. Aou was confident that he could use this great divine ability to heavily injure any late-stage core forging cultivator who was caught off guard. Even Li Xianin, who had formed a 7th-grade golden core, was heavily injured by this inherited divine ability before being killed by Aou. However, after the teleportation array's light faded, no one appeared above the teleportation array. This caused Aou to be startled. However, the teleportation array's light flickered again. Aou didn't make any more guesses. Right now, he was ready to use his great divine ability at any time. He wouldn't destroy the teleportation array and cause an accident to happen to the person who came. Instead, he wanted to personally dismember the person who killed his beloved son into 1,000 pieces. The teleportation array's light flickered and revealed a human figure. This time, there was no mistake. The great divine ability in Taoist master Aou's hand turned into a sky full of frost and icicles, covering the sky and covering the earth as they shot towards the people in the teleportation array. Not good, that bastard is sneaking an attack. This person is actually a 9th-layer core forging cultivator. No, it's Aou. King stop, it's one of us. When Aou used his great divine ability, he felt that something was wrong. There were actually 3 people teleporting over, and all 3 of them were late-stage core forging cultivators. Even if he could seriously injure one of them, with the remaining 2 joining hands, he wouldn't be able to do anything in a short period of time. At that time, it would definitely alarm Tian Shui, and he would be doomed. Thinking of this, Aou turned around and was about to leave first. Unexpectedly, the people who teleported over were cursing and screaming. Aou was startled. They were actually demon race cultivators. Could it be that the North Sea demon race was finally going to make a move on the Ice Dragon clan? Aou's heart immediately surged with sorrow, but he quickly denied it. If the demon race was going to make a move, these 3 people would definitely not appear here. Thinking of this, Aou stopped in his tracks. At this moment, Lu Ping's great divine ability had already subsided. Among the 3 people who teleported over, one was already on the verge of death, and the other was also injured and vomiting blood. They were in a sorry state. They were just ordinary late-stage core forging cultivators, and they thought that the person they were chasing was a human mid-stage core forging cultivator. Even though they had made preparations before teleporting over, they didn't expect that there would be a late-stage core forging cultivator of their own race using a great divine ability to ambush them. The only one who wasn't injured was the primordial giant crocodile race cultivator who used the meteor hammer to chase after Lu Ping. This cultivator's eyes flashed with a murderous glint, and he spoke to Aou in a cold voice. Aou, I need an explanation. Otherwise, wait for my primordial giant crocodile race's demon, king, to interrogate you. Aou frowned, and a cold glint flashed in his eyes. However, he asked in surprise, Aoli, why are you here? Aoli was the primordial giant crocodile race cultivator who used the meteor hammer. He sneered and said, Why are we here? Your lair was raided, and we chased the human race cultivator here, but we were killed by you. I still want to ask you, why are you here? And how do you know about this teleportation array that connects to the deep sea demon territory? You recalled the first teleportation light that lit up, but there was no one inside. He suddenly came to a realization and said, I have been waiting here, and no human race cultivator has appeared. The other injured cultivator pointed at Aou and scolded, Nonsense. We have been tracking this human cultivator all this time. Our divine senses have never been cut off. He stepped onto this teleportation array and activated the teleportation. By the time we arrived, he had already teleported here. It was only a short while. If you had been waiting here all this time, how could you not have noticed? Aou said coldly, Do you think I would let the murderer of my son escape? The beast cultivator was stunned, and then snorted coldly, That's hard to say. Didn't you sell your own sister just like that? You even changed your surname to Ao? Tui, cheap wretch. Aoli frowned and shouted, Brother Zhang, be careful with your words. The cultivator who spoke before also didn't believe that Aou would let the murderer go. He was just angry that he was hit by Aou's great spell for nothing. So he said those words out of anger. At this time, he also knew that it was inappropriate. After Aou heard the words of the beast cultivator surnamed Zhang, a burning evil fire broke through the top of his head. However, his mind was still gloomy, and he forcibly suppressed this humiliation. Then, as if he thought of something, his expression changed, and he said, Not good. We can't stay here for long. If you don't want to die, quickly go back. The beast cultivator surnamed Zhang was still a bit confused, but Aoli somewhat understood and asked, Where is this place? Aou didn't have time to answer. A few high-grade spirit stones had already been inserted into the teleportation array. However, the teleportation array just started to flicker, and then it was extinguished. Aou stood up expressionlessly. At this time, the beast cultivator surnamed Zhang seemed to have understood something. He said coldly, That kid didn't leave the demon abyss, and the teleportation array in the demon abyss has been destroyed? Aou sneered, That's a small matter. I'm worried that the four of us won't be able to escape now. Hee, I didn't expect that Laozu would have such luck today. Look who this is. Isn't this my martial nephew Xian Yin's brother-in-law, Daoist Inu? What's wrong? After selling your sister and brother-in-law, are you going to sell yourself as well? That's right. This Laozu will take it all today. A middle-aged woman had unknowingly arrived at the bottom of the sea. She was standing not far behind them. Not counting the beast cultivator who was on his last breath, none of the 3 late-stage core forging beast cultivators were able to detect her presence. Tian Shui Laozu. The beast cultivator surnamed Zhang's expression was mournful, and his eyes were already filled with despair. Aoli also didn't expect to be in such a situation. Although he knew that there was only a slim chance of survival, he still held the meteor hammer in his hand, ready to fight to the death. Only Aou's expression was calm, but his eyes were constantly flickering, as if he was calculating something. Chapter 455. At that moment, Lu Ping left a hidden spot not too far away from the valley where Ice Drake's cave abode was with a look of disappointment on his face. When the relocation rune lit up again, he knew that his trick had been seen through, and he could only destroy the relocation rune. This time, he trapped himself in the deep sea of demonic region. Lu Ping knew that even if he did not destroy the relocation rune, the demonic beast cultivators would, and they would not give him the chance to do so. Lu Ping had originally wanted to return to Ice Drake's cave abode and ransack it again, but he found that the cave abode had long since been protected by the demonic beast cultivators who had rushed over after hearing the news. Lu Ping looked at the orderly demonic beast cultivators outside Ice Drake's cave abode and could not help but find it a little strange. Based on the nature of the demonic beast, even if this cave abode was created by a demonic beast cultivator, once it was opened and no one was guarding it, it would still be robbed. Since when did the demonic beast cultivators learn to accept the rules? Right now, he could only hide in the deep sea of demonic region for a while. Fortunately, Lu Ping was dressed in stone armor, and he had the water and moon repelling pearl with him. As long as he did not run into any demonic beast cultivators, he would not have to worry about anyone tracking him down. Lu Ping thought about it, then decided to summon De Gue. De Gue had come to the deep sea of demonic region before, and he was relatively familiar with the situation there. The man and the turtle swam towards the depths of a mountain range at the bottom of the sea. Due to the relocation rune, there was a high possibility that Lu Ping's identity would be suspected to be that of a human cultivator. If that happened, even Lu Ping himself knew very well just how great of a storm it would cause in the deep sea of demonic region. It had been 400 to 500 years since Dao Kong Laozu had charged into the deep sea of demonic region alone and escaped unscathed. Since then, not a single human cultivator had been able to leave the deep sea of demonic region alive, and it was after that incident that Dao Kong Laozu had secured his throne as the strongest cultivator in Northern Sea. Later on, he even survived his disaster and became the only cultivator in the later stage of core forging in Northern Sea. Lu Ping clearly did not have Dao Kong Laozu's ability to charge into the deep sea of demonic region by force. He could only hide here and there, and perhaps there would be some hope. Aou's reputation as the Ice Drake's last hope was not undeserved. Otherwise, he would not have been favored by the primordial giant crocodile race. Or he would not have been favored by the primordial giant crocodile. They would have given him the heaven middle grade heaven due they had obtained from Eastern Sea. Thus, when Tian Shuelaozu attacked, Aou thought that even though Tian Shuelaozu was a mid-Dharma adept, and even though Ao Li's abilities were not as great as Li Li's, there was still a demon cultivator surnamed Zhang helping him. Even if the rest of them were not his match, Aou still had the confidence to escape. However, reality was cruel. Tian Shuelaozu had merely attacked casually. Even though everyone had used all of their strength to resist, the result was that the demon cultivator surnamed Zhang had died on the spot. Aoli was on the verge of death. If Aou did not have the Ice Drake Pearl that had been passed down for thousands of years, he would not be much stronger than Aoli. Even so, Aou spat out a few pieces of blood-red ice. As for the other demon cultivator that Aou had accidentally injured, he had already turned into a pile of ice on the seabed. Tian Shuelaozu clapped her hands, giving Aoli and Aou a huge shock. They thought that Tian Shuelaozu was going to attack again. However, they heard Tian Shuelaozu chuckle. Aoli and Aou felt their scalps go numb. How many years had it been since they last experienced such a feeling where their life and death were in the hands of their opponent? However, Tian Shuelaozu did not make a move in the end. Instead, she turned to the side and smiled. Ao Chuang, how much longer are you going to wait there? Aoli looked at Tian Shuelaozu's line of sight in astonishment. However, there was no one in his line of sight. Aou's expression relaxed. Obviously, he had already expected something. Haha, Senior Tian Shui has sharp eyes. However, this junior has just arrived. Previously, Senior had displayed your remarkable abilities. It's a pity that I didn't have the opportunity to appreciate it. At the seabed, a golden door flickered. From it, a majestic man walked out. If it wasn't the Golden Flood Dragon Island Master, Ao Chuang, who else could it be? Ao Li cried out in surprise, "Big brother." However, just as he finished speaking, he coughed continuously and vomited out a few mouthfuls of blood. Ao Chuang didn't even look at Aoli as he said, "This time, Senior Tian Shui disregarded our agreement and made a move against a low-level cultivator. You have broken the rules." Tan Shuelaozu sneered. "This old lady has already made a move. What are you going to do about it?" Ao Chuang's expression changed as he said, "Senior doesn't see the big picture. Could it be that you are forcing us to slaughter the Jinling disciples?" Tian Shuelaozu chuckled. "Ao Chuang, you don't have to play such tricks with me. This Ao you killed my martial nephew Xian Yin. Even if I want him to pay with his life, what's wrong with that?" As such, Dao friend Tian Shui didn't manage to kill Aou in a single strike. This matter shall end here. The one who spoke wasn't Ao Chuang. Tian Shui's expression finally turned solemn as she spoke coldly. "Giant whale demonic King Kong Jing, I didn't expect you to come as well." From afar, a huge sea current surged over. When the sea current reached the front of everyone, it strangely stopped. A huge man that was even more muscular than the Golden Flood Dragon Island master, Ao Chuang, appeared in front of everyone and said, "Since Dao friend Tian Shui is here, how could Kong Jing not be here? I'm afraid Xianling sect's Dao Yin is about to arrive as well." Hee, thanks for Dao friend Kong's concern. Dao Yin is late by a step, please forgive me. As soon as he finished speaking, a middle-aged scholar appeared not far away from Tian Shui Laozu. Compared to Tian Lin Laozu's elegance, Xianling sect's Dao Yin Laozu had a wild and unrestrained demeanor from the start. All of a sudden, 4 Dharma Laozu had gathered. Aoli, who was watching from the side, felt a little guilty. Even if Ao had predicted the appearance of Tian Shui and Ao Chuang, he wouldn't have thought that there would be 2 more Laozu. Moreover, they were both Dharma Laozu in the middle stage. Ao had now deeply experienced how terrifying a Dharma Laozu in the middle stage was. Ao's expression was much calmer than Aoli's, but in his heart, he wasn't confident at all. From the looks of it, among the human race cultivators, the 2 Dharma Laozu seemed to have the upper hand. However, the feud between Jinling and Xianling sect had been going on for a long time. No one dared to guarantee that the other party wouldn't play any tricks behind their backs. The demon race might seem weaker, but the Northern Sea demon race, the primordial giant crocodile, was the strongest. Although there were high-level races like the ice dragon and the flood dragon whale, they were still unable to challenge the primordial giant crocodile's prestige. The demon race had a strict hierarchy, but they were all united. When the giant whale demon king saw Dao Yin Laozu appear, he directly walked past Tian Shui Laozu and asked, "Dao Yin, what do you think?" Dao Yin Laozu naturally wouldn't fall for it. He laughed and said, "Senior sister Tian Shui taking revenge for her martial nephew is pardonable. However, since she didn't manage to kill this Aou with a single strike, she naturally wouldn't make another move." Ao Chuang laughed coldly. "So you're saying that the 2 late-stage core forging realm cultivators of my demon race died in vain?" Just as Ao Chuang's voice landed, the giant whale demon king's expression turned ugly. Tian Shui didn't give in and said, "You want to pay with your life for killing? Fine, I'm right here. If you have the ability, then kill me." As a woman, Tian Shui Laozu was famous for being shrewd. Otherwise, how would she be able to reach the mid-stage Dharma realm as a woman? Otherwise, before Tian Fan Laozu achieved Dharma realm, he wouldn't have the reputation of being henpecked. After both of them advanced into the Dharma realm, their prestige in the Northern Seas cultivation world grew day by day. That was why no one dared to talk behind their backs. Thus, Tian Fan Laozu's reputation of being henpecked was no longer mentioned. "I think that senior sister Tian Shui should be teaching your clan a lesson." At this moment, Dao Yin Laozu's eyes flickered with radiance. He pointed at the teleportation array on the ground and interrupted. "Where does this teleportation array lead to? Who built it? Why are the few of you here? I don't need to say any more, right?" The few Laozu's gazes were all fixed on Aou. Aou was quick-witted. He stretched out his hand and swiped at the seabed. Immediately, the teleportation array turned into a pile of rocks. The great whale demon king gave a muffled snort. "Today's matter ends here. However, I don't know which North Sea sect that little fellow is trapped in the deep sea demon territory. His cultivation is at the mid-core forging stage. What courage!" After saying that, the giant whale demon king left without even turning his head back. Only the seawater was left in turmoil because of his departure. Aoli and Aou almost couldn't stand still. As for Tian Shui Laozu and Dao Yin Laozu, they didn't bat an eyelid at the giant whale demon king's parting words. Ao Chuang knew that it would be hard for him to obtain any benefits from today's matter. He sneered and said to Tian Shui Laozu, "I heard that the disciple of your sect's mysterious demon king is also of my demon race's bloodline. I believe that your sect and my clan should cooperate more often." After saying that, he laughed and left. Aoli and Aou hurriedly followed after him. Tian Shui Laozu's expression changed. Then, she heard Dao Yin Laozu laughing as if he had discovered something new. "Senior sister Tian Shui, your sect is indeed full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. My Xianling sect is truly ashamed of our inferiority." Tian Shui Laozu's heart sank. She sneered, "Dao Yin, you actually believe this kind of sowing discord?" Dao Yin Laozu shook his head. I don't believe in sowing discord. However, this demon's descendant cannot be left alive. I believe that your sect wouldn't become enemies with the entire Northern Seas cultivation world just because of a demon's descendant, right? Tian Shui Laozu snorted coldly. Dao Yin, what are you going to do? Dao Yin Laozu didn't reply. With a flash, he disappeared from the seabed, leaving behind Tian Shui Laozu's expression fluctuating. After a long time, she let out a sigh and disappeared from the seabed as well. At this moment, within a mountain range in the deep-sea demon region, Lu Ping, with Debeo's help, had emptied the underground of a mountain range. Furthermore, he even found a miniature spiritual vein within the mountain, causing Lu Ping to exclaim in admiration at the richness of the sea region. Thus, he temporarily hid here. However, when Lu Ping saw the things that Debeo brought out from the Ice Dragon's cave, his expression couldn't help but turn black. Chapter 456. With the help of Debeo, Lu Ping built a temporary underground cave in a mountain range in the deep-sea demon domain. Lu Ping didn't have time to recover from his internal injuries. He couldn't wait to ask Debeo to take out the treasures he obtained from the Ice Dragon's cave. However, when he saw Debeo take out the items from the storage bag tied under his chin, Lu Ping's face instantly darkened. Crash! Debeo poured the contents of the storage bag onto the ground like a treasure. The originally bulging storage bag immediately deflated. Lu Ping looked at the things on the ground and said bitterly, Debeo, is this all? Debeo blinked innocently. He didn't understand what Lu Ping meant. However, he had been with Lu Ping for the longest time, so he seemed to feel that Lu Ping was a little disappointed. Lu Ping was more than a little disappointed. Looking at the spirit stones on the ground, he was greatly disappointed. A 500-year-old spirit herb or a low-grade spirit stone. Which one was more valuable? As long as one was a cultivator, they should choose a 500-year-old spirit herb. However, this matter was a little special for Debeo. Debeo's spirit-seeking mouse's innate ability was to be extremely sensitive to the fluctuations of spiritual energy emitted from the surface of treasures. Therefore, in Debeo's view, the fluctuations of spiritual energy emitted by a low-grade spirit stone were far stronger than that of a 500-year-old spirit herb. Lu Ping instantly understood the reason for the matter. Therefore, he also understood why Debeo would put all his energy into searching for spirit stones after entering the Ice Dragon's cave. Lu Ping looked at the low-grade spirit stones on the ground. There were tens of thousands of them. For a blood condensation cultivator, it was a lot, but for a core forging cultivator, it was far from enough. Not to mention, Lu Ping was a big spender of spirit stones. Lu Ping patted Debeo's head and said with some hope, Debeo, is that all? Debeo shook the shriveled storage bag, and 30 to 40 upper-grade spirit stones fell out from it. Lu Ping's complexion finally looked a little better. Upper-grade spirit stones were exactly what Lu Ping needed at the moment. Whether it was for cultivation or alchemy, Lu Ping's demand for upper-grade spirit stones had always been the more the better. However, after the one-time reward of 500 high-grade spirit stones from the sect, Lu Ping did not feel satisfied with 30 or 40 high-grade spirit stones. Lu Ping squinted at Debeo, chuckled, and said, Debeo, do you have more? Big Treasure scratched the storage bag with his claws, and this time, 3 stones that didn't look very special fell out. However, Lu Ping's eyes lit up and said, top-grade spirit stones? These 3 ordinary-looking stones were the same as the only top-grade spirit stone on Lu Ping's body. Lu Ping hesitated for a while and used his divine sense to immerse into the jade slip. After a long time, he opened his eyes in surprise. This jade slip recorded half a set of refining methods for some kind of elixir, and judging from the vastness of this set of refining methods, this elixir was obviously an extremely complicated elixir for the Dharma stage. But why did the recorded refining methods look so familiar to Lu Ping? Lu Ping suspiciously looked at the contents of the jade slip again. This time, he suddenly realized something. This half of the medicinal pellet concoction technique was similar to Lu Ping's small forging spirit pellet. Unfortunately, This half of the medicinal pellet concoction technique was far more profound than small forging spirit pellets concoction technique. Lu Ping's heart moved, and he quickly opened the Wonder Jade essence box inside. He saw a dark blue ball of water spinning in the box, as if it was afraid of Lu Ping. Such a sensitive spiritual nature, Lu Ping had only seen it on the Xinyuan heavy water, and this bowl of spirit water in front of him was even more spiritual than the Xinyuan heavy water. This was a kind of heaven-level spirit water of heaven and earth, without a doubt. What kind of spirit water of heaven and earth could be more spiritual than the Xinyuan heavy water? This was the Wonder Jade Dew. This was definitely the Wonder Jade Dew. Lu Ping immediately thought of something, and his heart jumped violently. Even the golden core in his heart space began to tremble. No. Lu Ping immediately thought of something, and his heart jumped violently. Even the golden core in his heart space began to tremble. This kind of spirit water was too familiar to Lu Ping. It was the same dark blue color and the same spiritual nature. This was exactly the same as the nameless spirit water of heaven and earth hidden in the 10,000 poison liquid in Lu Ping's house of gold. Was this really the Wonder Jade Dew? Lu Ping was now a little suspicious. If this was really the Wonder Jade Dew, didn't that mean that Lu Ping had obtained this kind of heaven-level mid-grade spirit water in the 7-star heavenly cave when he was still in the blood condensation realm? He had a great treasure in his possession, but he didn't know it. Right now, Lu Ping couldn't tell what kind of feeling he was having. He could only sigh at the wonders of creation. The Wonder Jade Dew was the only kind of spirit water of heaven and earth that could be used as medicine. It had the effect of prolonging one's lifespan and quickly restoring one's true essence. It was the main ingredient of several kinds of 10-year longevity pills in the cultivation world. However, the Wonder Jade Dew itself was born from the 10,000 poison liquid, which was a natural wonder that contained tens of thousands of poisons in the world. It took Lu Ping a long time to calm down from the excitement of obtaining the myriad Wonder Jade Dew. But then, he suddenly thought of something. This set of medicinal pellets was hidden in the jade box along with the myriad Wonder Jade Dew. Could it be that this set of medicinal pellets actually recorded the method to refine the spirit forging pellet? Aou also had his eyes on the spirit forging pill. Although this half of the pill refining method didn't record the spirit herbs needed to refine the spirit forging pill, the process of condensing the pill, and the process of refining the pill, it only recorded the refining process before using the purification technique. This was already a big surprise for Lu Ping. With the addition of the myriad Wonder Jade Dew from the Golden House's limestone vat, Lu Ping already had 1.5 portions of the myriad Wonder Jade Dew in his possession. Not only did he have the spirit herb recipe for the spirit forging pellet, but he also had the first half of the pellet concoction method. It could be said that Lu Ping had inadvertently become the closest alchemist to successfully concocting the spirit forging pellet after Fei Ling's sect. Lu Ping took a deep breath and suppressed the surprise in his heart. He solemnly put away the jade box and jade slip into his storage ring. If it weren't for the fact that the myriad Wonder Dew was extremely rare, Lu Ping was confident that with his alchemy skills, he would be able to successfully concoct the second half of the spirit forging pellet after he became a grandmaster alchemist. With the first half of the pellet recipe and enough spirit herbs, he would be able to concoct the second half of the spirit forging pellet after a few attempts. Unfortunately, the Wonder Jade Dew itself was a kind of spiritual water that was even rarer than a high-grade heaven-rank spiritual item. In addition to its various magical effects, especially in the area of prolonging one's life, how could Lu Ping be willing to use this kind of treasure to practice? Moreover, Lu Ping himself was clear that when he advanced to the middle stage of the core forging realm, he had successfully refined the Xinyuan heavy water by chance. So, when Lu Ping advanced to the late stage of the core forging realm, there was no reason for him to refine a spiritual item that was inferior to the Xinyuan heavy water. But now, was there a spiritual item that was more suitable than the mid-grade heaven-rank Wonder Jade Dew? The East Sea Demon Clan had delivered the Wonder Jade Dew, and the Crystal Palace had listed out the spirit herbs needed to refine the spirit forging pill and handed them over to the various sects in the North Sea. Now, Lu Ping had found the first half of the spirit forging pill refining method from Daomaster Aou. Although Lu Ping didn't know what price Xinling and Xianling sect had paid to obtain the list of spirit herbs needed to refine the spirit forging pill from the Crystal Palace, and what kind of compromise they had made. He didn't know how Master Aou had obtained the first half of the spirit-forging pill refining method, and why the East Sea Demon Clan had delivered the Wonder Jade due to him. However, he seemed to have sensed that an invisible wave had been set off in the North Sea's cultivation world. However, Lu Ping had once heard from Fornax Laozu that the spirit-forging pill was one of the many factors that led to the destruction of Fei Ling sect. Chapter 457. After obtaining the Wonder Dew, Lu Ping no longer felt depressed because De Bao only remembered to collect spirit stones. Just the Wonder Dew alone was worth Lu Ping's trip to the Deep Sea Demon territory. Although Lu Ping let De Bao go, he still decided to teach De Bao some common sense of the cultivation world, especially about the identification of some treasures. However, it seemed that Lu Ping could only carry out this plan when De Bao advanced to the core forging stage. Lu Ping called Samling out, and then took out the Ice Dragon Pearl from Ao Wushuang. When Lu Linger saw the Ice Dragon Pearl in Lu Ping's hand, her big eyes showed eagerness. Lu Ping said with a smile, "Linger, why do you seem to know a lot about the Ice Dragon Pearl?" All of Lu Linger's attention was attracted by the Ice Dragon Pearl. Hearing this, she nodded, but her big eyes were still looking at the Ice Dragon Pearl. She said, "Father, not only Linger knows, but sister and brother also know. This is something that comes from the bloodline inheritance of our green sea snake. But unfortunately, the Ice Dragon clan has always cultivated the Ice attribute cultivation method, and the Ice Dragon Pearl is a unique inheritance method of the Ice Dragon clan. So this Ice Dragon Pearl is only useful for Linger who cultivates the Ice attribute cultivation method." Oh. Lu Ping handed the Ice Dragon Pearl to Lu Linger and asked with great interest, "There is such a thing? Can you tell Father what is going on? How can the inheritance of the Ice Dragon clan be inherited by a little fellow like you, a green sea snake?" Lu Linger received the Ice Dragon Pearl as if it was a treasure. She giggled and sent her divine sense into the Ice Dragon Pearl. Lu Ping looked at Lu Linger's impatient look and found it funny. Lu Qing shook his head helplessly. Then Lu Ping asked and explained, "Father, do you know that the Ice Dragon clan is the same as us green sea snakes? We also have the bloodline of the Flood Dragon." Lu Ping naturally knew that the bloodline of the Ice Dragon clan must be related to the bloodline of the green sea snake. But Lu Qing's next words surprised Lu Ping. But Father may not know that although the Ice Dragon clan inherited the bloodline of the Flood Dragon, they are not the bloodline of the Flood Dragon Laozu. This was a secret that Lu Ping didn't know. Lu Ping asked in doubt, "Is there such a thing? Aren't all the creatures in this world descendants of the seventh patriarch? Why is the Ice Dragon clan an exception? Could it be that at the beginning of this world, besides the seventh patriarch, there was another Laozu?" In fact, when a cultivator advanced to the legendary spirit transformation stage, after achieving the true spirit realm, they could condense an inheritance in their own bloodline for their direct descendants. However, this bloodline inheritance often didn't last more than 3 generations. Because of the thinning of the bloodline, they would lose the opportunity to inherit it. Unless one of the descendants reached the spirit transformation stage before the 3rd generation, then the bloodline inheritance could be extended for another 3 generations. Otherwise, if no one in the 3rd generation reached the true spirit realm, then this inheritance would be cut off. However, this restriction was invalid for the direct descendants of the 7th patriarch of this world. For tens of thousands of years, as long as these direct descendants didn't become extinct like the Wood Luan clan, then their bloodline inheritance would not be cut off because no one reached the true spirit realm and reached the spirit transformation stage. This was also the origin of the top spirit beasts in the monster clan, such as the green sea snake and the primordial giant crocodile that inherited the bloodline of the flood dragon, the Kurin fish that inherited the bloodline of the Pong, the fire luan and wood luan that inherited the bloodline of the luan, and the Ba Gue that inherited the bloodline of the tortoise. Top spirit beasts meant that they were the direct descendants of the 7th patriarch of the world, and that their bloodline inheritance would not be cut off. However, among these top spirit beasts, there was an alternative race. They were not the direct descendants of the 7th patriarch of the world, but their bloodline inheritance had never been cut off. This was the Ice Dragon clan. After listening to Lu Qing's explanation, Lu Ping knew that there was such a secret behind the seventh patriarch of the world. Not all creatures in this world had the bloodline of the seventh patriarch of the world. Only the top spirit beasts of the monster clan inherited the bloodline of the seventh patriarch. So he said with some understanding, "So, the inheritance of the Ice Dragon clan lies in this Ice Dragon Pearl?" At this time, Lu Ling, divine sense, had already withdrawn from the Ice Dragon clan. She said with a smile, "Father is so smart, but the Ice Dragon Pearl is only a means for the Ice Dragon clan to perfect the inheritance. The so-called bloodline inheritance, in addition to the inheritance of the cultivation methods of the predecessors, is the bloodline, or the inheritance of talent and aptitude. The Ice Dragon clan's Laozu followed Jiao Laozu and was fortunate to receive Jiao Laozu's guidance. He was able to pass on the talent and aptitude of the Ice Dragon clan from generation to generation like the other descendants of the seventh patriarch. However, the cultivation methods could not be inherited along with the bloodline. However, the Ice Dragon clan's Laozu was also a talented genius, so he thought of the Ice Dragon Pearl as a way of inheritance to complete the inheritance of the Ice Dragon clan, making the Ice Dragon clan ranked among the top spirit beasts of the monster clan. They all thought that this secret must be passed down from generation to generation in the Ice Dragon Pearl of the Ice Dragon clan. So they started a crazy hunt for the younger generation of the Ice Dragon clan. However, they never found out. After a long time, everyone thought that this might be just a scam. The Ice Dragon clan did not get the secret of the seventh patriarch, but some people did not give up. Coupled with the temptation of the Ice Dragon Pearl, the Ice Dragon clan gradually disappeared in the cultivation world. At this time, Lu Ping's curiosity was also aroused by Samling's words. He asked, "Oh, do you know what this secret is about the seventh patriarch?" Lu Ping shook his little head like a rattle drum and said, "I don't know. Maybe when our cultivation is higher and the seal of the inherited memory is opened more, we will know more." Lu Ping nodded, turned to Lu Linger and asked with a smile, "Linger, tell father, what inheritance did you get from the Ice Dragon Pearl this time?" Lu Linger wrinkled her little nose and said with dissatisfaction, "This Ao Wushuang is really useless. He has a cultivation of the 6th level of the core forging realm, but he only unlocked the seal of the Ice Dragon Pearl to the late stage of the core forging realm. Moreover, many of the Ice Dragon clan's inherited secret skills were not unlocked. Obviously, he was not strong enough. No wonder he was so easily killed by father." But then Lu Linger said happily, "But Ling still found a lot of useful things in the inheritance that can be opened in the Ice Dragon Pearl, which will be of great help to Ling's future cultivation. Especially the Ice Dragon Pearl itself is a kind of inheritance treasure of the Ice Dragon clan. It has accumulated the essence of Ao Wushuang's cultivation for hundreds of years. Although it is not as good as his gold core, it is still of great help to Ling's cultivation." Lu Ping nodded with relief, and then asked with some confusion, "Will these inheritances be treated differently according to the cultivator's strength?" Lu Ling sniffed and said unhappily, "That's right. Every top-grade race cultivator's inheritance is unlocked according to the cultivator's own strength. Bystanders can't help with this, unless a cultivator of the same race who cultivates the same cultivation method dictates the contents of the inheritance that has not been unlocked. However, even if the cultivator knows the content, he or she will not be able to cultivate it successfully. This is the magic of bloodline inheritance. The greater the ability, the greater the harvest. Things like reaping without sowing rarely happen. Therefore, in order to unlock all the inheritance that they can use, the top-grade Demon Clan cultivators have to cultivate very hard. This is also an important reason why, in addition to their aptitude, the top-grade Demon Clan cultivators can maintain their advantage in strength among the Demon Clan." Lu Ping nodded secretly, but then asked curiously, "Ling how is the bloodline inheritance of you and your sister unlocked?" Lu Hai smiled proudly, patted his chest and said, "Father, don't worry. Our bloodline inheritance has been opened to the late stage of core forging, unlike that waste Ao Wushuang. Moreover, all the secret techniques and magical powers that we can use have been opened, and nothing has been left out." Lu Ping nodded with satisfaction, then took out a storage magic tool and said with a smile, Then let's see what treasures the last prince of the Ice Dragon clan has in his hands. Chapter 458. The most precious things on Ao Wushuang's body were the Ice Dragon Pearl and the pair of psychic-grade ice swords, but these two things were already in the hands of Lu Linger. Lu Ping thought for a moment and said, "Linger, that Ice Dragon Pearl may be useful to me in the future. Don't destroy the inheritance inside." Lu Linger stuck out her tongue and said, "Fortunately, Father reminded me early. Otherwise, Linger would have destroyed the Ice Dragon Pearl after absorbing the essence inside." Lu Ping felt strange and said, "Why does Linger want to destroy the Ice Dragon Pearl? I think the Ice Dragon Pearl itself is quite extraordinary. Ao Wushuang's strength is low, but he was able to block a blow from the Jinshin Pearl with this Ice Dragon Pearl." Lu Linger curled her lips and said, "That's because the quality of the Ice Dragon Pearl itself is extremely high. Every time the Ice Dragon Pearl is made, it is carefully selected by the direct elder of the pearl for the younger generation. It can only show that Ao Wushuang's father, Ao Yu, is far more capable than his son. However, the mystery of the Ice Dragon Pearl can only be displayed in the Ice Dragon clan. Father wants to use this Ice Dragon Pearl. Does it mean that in addition to Ao Yu and Ao Wushuang, there is also the bloodline of the Ice Dragon clan in the North Sea?" Lu Ping did not answer Lu Linger's question. He just reminded her again, "Remember not to destroy the Ice Dragon Pearl, especially the inheritance inside." After that, Lu Ping forcibly broke the Divine Sense Seal on Ao Wushuang's storage device, and then poured the things inside to the ground. Hey, there are still good things. After the things in the storage device fell to the ground, a cold chill suddenly filled the entire underground cave. At a glance, Lu Ping saw a jade box shrouded in white cold mist among the pile of junk on the ground. Holding the jade box in his hand, a layer of blue light burst out from Lu Ping's palm. It was not affected by the cold mist outside the jade box. It wrapped around the jade box, dispelling the cold mist outside. The chill in the cave was suddenly swept away. Lu Ping opened the jade box, and his eyes lit up. He said with a smile, "So it is the Millennium Ice Heart. This is a mid-grade Earth-step origin treasure, and there are two of them. It must be prepared by Ao Wushuang to advance to the late stage of core forging." Two mid-grade Earth-step origin treasures were used to advance to the late stage of core forging. In the future, there would be a chance to refine a low-grade Earth-step origin treasure and condense a 7th-grade gold core. However, this possibility was only about 20% or 30%. But thinking about the half set of spirit forging pills in AOU's hands, if he really succeeded, not to mention an ordinary 7th grade gold core, he could even condense a top grade 7th grade gold core. Other high-grade spirit stones and spirit herbs produced in the deep sea demon domain were taken by Lu Ping. At the same time, there were also some jade slips. At Lu Ping's cultivation level, if he wanted to go further, he could no longer rely on pure cultivation. He needed to learn from a wide range of things. Only then could he make progress. This depended on a cultivator's foundation and accumulation. For example, Ao Wushuang used the Ice Twin Swords as his natal magic weapons, so he must be quite proficient in swordsmanship. Although it was impossible for Lu Ping to obtain the inheritance of the Ice Dragon clan from the storage bag, as a sword cultivator, Ao Wushuang also had several sword cultivation jade slips in his storage device. Some of them were at the minor magical realm, and their power was quite extraordinary. Although most of them were ice-attributed swordsmanship, Lu Ping could still learn from them. In addition, Ao Wushuang also had an ice-attributed heaven and earth strange item, which was given to Lu Linger by Lu Ping to let her condense protective aura qi. Now Lu Linger had condensed 3 kinds of protective aura qi, and it had already become a minor magical realm protective aura qi. However, the 7 treasures thunder calabash in Lu Ping's hands was also stuck in the bottleneck of advancing to the psychic magic weapon because it lacked the 4th psychic treasure restriction. Even if there was a strange item on the side, it could not be used to condense. Because Lu Hai also practiced the water-attributed secret art, he had also benefited a lot from Lu Ping, and he had already condensed a minor magical realm protective aura qi. However, because Lu Ping also had De Gue, a demon pet who practiced the water-attributed secret art, under his command, Although Lu Hai was often close to the water pavilion, Lu Ping would not favor one and discriminate against the other. The overseas cultivation world, including the demon clan, undoubtedly practiced the water-attributed secret art most often. Therefore, this kind of heaven and earth strange item was the most numerous in the overseas cultivation world. Lu Bai was the eldest sister among the Samling, but her protective aura chi was only condensed to the second layer. In addition to overseas, the wind attribute heaven and earth strange item was less than the water attribute and ice attribute. Before, the wind attribute heaven and earth strange item that Lu Ping collected was mostly used to smelt the 7 treasures thunder calabash. Therefore, in the past few years, Lu Ping only used the elixirs in his hands to exchange for 2 kinds of wind attribute heaven and earth strange item through various channels, so that Lu Bai could condense her protective aura chi. This time, if Lu Ping had not obtained the 1,000 Wonder Dew, the one who benefited the most from breaking into the Ice Dragon Cave was undoubtedly Lu Linger. Lu Bai and Lu Hai were about to take out the storage pouches of the other 3 mid-core Forging Realm monster cultivators, but they saw Lu Ping waving his hand and saying, "Although the 3 of you look very young now, even among the green sea snakes, there are not many who can have such achievements as you. But after all, you are already core Forging Realm monster cultivators, so you should have your own accumulation. The things of these 3 people can be regarded as your spoils of war, so you can dispose of them yourself." The Samling was overjoyed when he heard this. Lu Bai thought for a moment, then handed over an earth attribute heaven and earth strange item, all the spirit grasses and high-grade spirit stones to Lu Ping. Lu Hai and Lu Linger also handed over all the heaven and earth strange items, spirit grasses and high-grade spirit stones that they could not use to Lu Ping. This time, Lu Ping did not refuse. He put away another metal attribute heaven and earth strange item and hundreds of various spirit grasses, but returned half of the hundreds of high-grade spirit stones to them and said, "When you reach the core Forging Realm, the use of high-grade spirit stones will increase. You should also keep some for emergencies." Then Lu Ping threw the earth attribute heaven and earth strange item to Debao, who was collecting the spirit stones on the ground into the large storage pouch hanging under his neck, and said, "Debao, you haven't smelted any heaven and earth strange item yet, so I can't use this earth attribute heaven and earth strange item for the time being. Take it out and condense a layer of protective aura, so that you can have a means of protection." After dividing up the spoils, Lu Ping sent out all his spiritual pets and told them to cultivate, while he sat quietly in the cave, thinking about a way to escape. A human cultivator going to the Deep Sea Demon Realm, the base camp of the North Sea Demon Clan, to kill and loot, Lu Ping did not need to know how much waves he would cause among the Demon Clan. What's more, although the Ice Dragon Clan of Ao Wushuang had declined, from his communication with the Samling, Lu Ping could also know that behind the Ice Dragon Clan of the North Sea Demon Clan was the primeval giant crocodile, the royal family of the North Sea Demon Clan. In addition to the Heaven Step mid-grade Wonder Dew and half a set of refining spirit forging pills, Lu Ping had probably already caused the madness of all the Demon Clan in the Demon Realm. Now, all the exits in the Demon Realm had probably been blocked by the masters of the Demon Clan. Fortunately, although Lu Ping's identity as a human had been exposed, his appearance and aura had not been captured by any Demon Clan cultivator's divine sense. Otherwise, Lu Ping's situation would probably be even more difficult. Just when Lu Ping was at his wit's end, he saw Lu Dagui crawling over from the side and saying in a muffled voice, "Master, my chi and blood have been fluctuating violently during cultivation recently. I'm afraid I'll break through to the core forging stage soon." Lu Dagui's original intention was to ask Lu Ping for the black tortoise golden pill. Lu Ping had clearly told him that Lu Dagui had already prepared the materials for him to refine his bloodline for the 3rd time, but Lu Dagui's words made Lu Ping happy. Lu Ping smiled and handed over the black tortoise golden pill, the 7-step mark pill, and the enchanting thought pill to Lu Dagui and said, "Don't worry about your breakthrough. I'll protect you. Whether we can escape from the deep sea demon territory depends on your performance after transforming." Lu Dagui was inexplicable when he saw Lu Ping's smile. Lu Ping had already known that he was about to break through to the core forging realm, but he was not sure about the specific time. However, after hearing Lu Ping's words, Lu Dagui was shocked. He knew that Lu Ping had a perfect plan, So he put the mini spiritual vein in his mouth and slowly walked to the secret cultivation room opened by Debao. Lu Ping also gave up the mini spiritual vein in the cave for Lu Dague to cultivate. At the same time, Lu Ping arranged a spirit gathering formation with 36 upper-grade spirit stones in the cultivation room. Lu Ping did not dare to arrange a spirit transforming formation with a better effect. With Lu Dague's current cultivation, under the spirit transforming formation with 36 upper-grade spirit stones, it would not take long for his heart core space to explode because the spirit qi gathered in his body could not be refined into spiritual power and zhenqi. Lu Ping's spiritual pets had always been in a state of free growth. Lu Ping did not arrange any secret or forbidden technique on any spiritual pet that could control their life and death. In this way, Lu Ping won the respect of Lu Ping's spiritual pets. In addition, Lu Ping's superb alchemy skills, his increasingly profound cultivation, his opponent's spiritual pets spared no effort to support him, and the monster clan's worship and obedience to the strong made the spiritual pets more loyal to him. What Lu Ping ignored was that these spiritual pets were not controlled by him. As long as Lu Dague advanced to the core forging stage and transformed, he would have the right to enter and exit the deep-sea monster territory freely. The monster clan cultivators who were guarding the various checkpoints would never think that a monster cultivator whose life and death were not controlled would be a monster pet of a human clan cultivator. In this way, Lu Ping and the others had hope of escaping. Then, as if thinking of something, he said, Xinling sect has already sided with the Crystal Palace? They are inviting a wolf into their own house. Aren't they afraid that the other sects in North Sea will join forces to resist and suppress them? Tian Fanlaozu laughed and said, whether it is or not, let's wait and see. However, Dao Sheng's usage of these tornado-like magical powers is getting more and more proficient. Even if Tian Shui and I join forces, we will still have to expend a lot of energy in this battle. Just as Tian Fanlaozu finished speaking, Tian Lin Laozu had already arrived at the peak of the mountain. He laughed and said, Uncle Master is too humble. Although Dao Sheng Laozu is strong, Uncle Master and Uncle Master Tian Shui are also improving. Moreover, both of you are improving at the same time, and your growth and strength is even faster than Dao Sheng Laozu. I think Uncle Master will have an easier time in this battle compared to 50 years ago. Although Tian Lin Laozu was stationed at Huangli Island, compared to Tian Shui and Tian Ling Laozu who were also outside, he was the closest to Tian Ling Mountain. Thus, he was the first to rush back. Tian Fanlaozu laughed and asked, how is Huangli Island? With Xinling sect's formation, I'm afraid the demon race will soon receive the news. What if they take the opportunity to attack Huangli Island? Tian Lin Laozu laughed and said, right now, there are more than 10 core forging realm cultivators on the island. Although most of them are in the early core forging realm, with little Bratlu spending a lot of money to set up the island's protective array, even if a late core forging realm cultivator comes, we can still hold on until junior brother Chu arrives. Furthermore, junior brother Xian Yin and junior brother Xian Huai's disciples have already broken through to the mid-core forging realm. With the two of them working together, among all the mid-core forging realm cultivators in the North Sea, only little Bratlu can suppress them. There shouldn't be any accidents. When Tian Fanlaozu heard Tian Lin Laozu mention Master Xian Yin, he went silent for a moment before asking in a low voice, how did all these brats come to Huangli Island? Tian Lin Laozu seemed to have sensed something and said thoughtfully, it's said that little brat Lu Ping invited them in advance. Tian Fanlaozu nodded and didn't say anything else. On the other hand, Tian Lu Laozu, who was quite concerned about Lu Ping, asked, I heard that little brat disappeared again recently? Tian Lin Laozu nodded. Tian Lu Laozu anxiously asked, could he be the human cultivator who barged into the deep-sea demon race's domain a few days ago? When Tian Lu Laozu asked this question, Tian Lin and Tian Fanlaozu were somewhat stunned. The few of them didn't say anything. Right at this moment, another door flickered on the peak of Tian Ling Mountain. Tian Shui Laozu had already flashed out from it. The moment she appeared, she scolded Dao Yin, that bastard. Still thinks that he's using some kind of trick. I can't see through it. Who can he hide from? This time, I'm afraid that Yuan Guang from the Crystal Palace is going to interfere. Seeing that Tian Fan Laozu and the others weren't surprised at all, Tian Shui Laozu didn't think much of it. She turned around and looked at the huge waterspout that had already surrounded Tianling Mountain within a radius of 700 miles. The huge waterspout seemed like it was going to form a formation, enveloping the entire Tianling Mountain. Heavenly Snow Overlord pursed his lips and said, "How come Daoxing is still using the same old tricks?" That Xianling sect's signature technique, the 18 Merry Swords of Merry 18 Swords, was originally a pretty good Great Divine Sword formation, but after being modified so many times by him, it looks so nondescript. However, it's still much more powerful than that Tianling girl's waterspout. But why hasn't that last Tianling arrived yet? If she still doesn't come, she won't be able to reach Tianling Mountain once the wind formation seals it. Just as Tian Shui Laozu's voice faded, the peak of Tianling Mountain flickered again. The graceful and elegant Lu Tianling Laozu had also arrived. Tianling Laozu greeted the few Laozu and naturally walked to Tianlin Laozu's side. Tianlin Laozu looked at Tianling Laozu and said with a smile, "This time, I think that Dao Xin Laozu and senior uncle Tian Xiang are monitoring each other in the fallen secret territory, so they won't be coming. However, that Yuan Guang from the Crystal Palace is very likely to interfere. At that time, you and I might have to work together to stop that person." Tianling Laozu nodded her head and didn't say anything. However, her eyes shone brightly. Obviously, she was also using an eye technique to observe Dao Shang Laozu's wind formation great divine ability. Tian Fan Laozu and Tian Shui Laozu saw that Tianling Laozu and Tianlin didn't quarrel. The two Laozu looked at each other and didn't say anything. At this moment, the number of waterspouts outside Tianling Mountain had already reached 18. The 18 tornadoes formed a huge divine ability formation, surrounding the entire Tianling Mountain as if it wanted to shatter the entire mountain. Chapter 459. Every single move of the Merry 18 Swords could be evolved into a set of swordsmanship, and every set of swordsmanship could also be condensed into the essence of a single move. When a set of swordsmanship was condensed into a single move, it meant that a small divine power had been successfully cultivated. 9 of the divine powers were individually known as the 9 Merry Swords. When these 9 divine powers were combined, they could form a great divine sword formation, also known as the Merry Sword Formation. The other 9 small divine powers were also known as the Merry 9 Swords. These 9 small divine powers could also form the great divine power of the Merry Sword Formation. Legend had it that after the patriarchs of Xianling sect created the Merry 18 Swords, they once imagined that on top of forming 2 great divine powers, they could also combine the 2 sword formations into one final unfettered sword. The power of this sword formation could even reach the level of a supreme divine power. Unfortunately, this sword formation had never appeared in Xianling sect before. As a result, the North Sea cultivation world believed that this was merely a fabrication by Xianling sect, and a rumor spread in the cultivation world. Dao Shang Laozu was a genius. Although he was not a sword cultivator, he was able to draw parallels from the Xianling sect's signature swordsmanship and create this great divine power of wind formation. Its power was not inferior to the 2 great divine powers of wind and Merry. However, Dao Shang Laozu's unique great divine power of wind formation allowed every 9 wind pillars to form a complete great divine power formation. The 18 wind pillars surrounding Tianling Mountain were the combination of 2 great divine power formations that had been cultivated to the extreme. Its power was definitely beyond the power of 2 great divine powers added together. Tianlu Laozu looked at Tian Fan Laozu worriedly and asked hesitantly, "Senior Tian Fan, should we join forces with senior sister Tian Shui to break Dao Shang's great divine power first?" Tian Shui Laozu pursed her lips and said, "Why should we break it? The North Sea cultivation world has been in a state of chaos for so long that we have forgotten the prestige of Fa Xiang Laozu in the cultivation world. This time, we must use this Dao Shang, the only late Dharma adept in the North Sea, to let our sect's cultivators see what the real Fa Xiang Laozu is like. This will prevent any arrogant fellows from assassinating other people's Fa Xiang Laozu in the future." Tian Shui Laozu's words were targeted at the fact that after the mysterious and immortal assassinated Dao Shi Laozu, there were many cultivators in Zhenling who believed that if it were not for the demon clan immortal Aoyu's betrayal, with the mysterious and immortal's ability, even if he was unable to kill Dao Shi, it was not impossible for him to escape unscathed. Although Tian Shui Laozu and the rest wanted to protect their own disciples, they could not allow their own disciples to become arrogant to the point where even Fa Xiang Laozu was not taken seriously. Tian Fan Laozu looked at the descending Laozu and was rather worried. He smiled and said, "Junior brother, don't worry. Although Dao Sheng's two great magical powers have been unleashed to the maximum, with the power of our sect's protective formation, it will not be destroyed by just two great magical powers. Moreover, with us here, how can our sect's cultivators be at a disadvantage?" Tianlu Laozu's expression finally relaxed a little. At this moment, he saw the surrounding 18 wind pillars gradually converging in the sky above Tianling Mountain, forming a huge wind net. The wind net rotated slowly, and the 18 wind pillars all twisted and contracted, cutting towards Tianling Mountain. Just as the wind net formed by the 18 wind pillars was contracting and cutting towards Tianling Mountain, a deep and steady voice could be heard coming from the top of Tianling Mountain. "Formation, rise." A huge, shimmering barrier, like a curtain that was evenly spat out from the peak of Tianling Mountain, fell around Tianling Mountain, protecting the entire mountain within the range of the formation. This voice belonged to the deacon of Tianling Mountain, perfected Jinling, perfected Jinling's formation, perfected Jinling's formation, perfected Jinling's formation. In the blink of an eye, Dao Sheng Laozu's wind net formation spun and cut towards Jinling's formation. A deafening creaking sound rang out, and the Jinling sect's sect-protecting array began to flicker. But the 18 twisting and spinning wind pillars did not seem to be damaged at all. As they formed into a net-like array, they looked like a bloodthirsty octopus entrenched in the sky above the sect-protecting array. Each wind pillar itself was a spinning tornado, and as they swept across the array, they also left marks on the array's protective shield. "Solidify." Once again, Reverend Gua Xuanshan's calm roar rang out on Tianling Mountain. The sect protection formation, which had been flickering between brightness and darkness, seemed to have learned to work together as it gathered the energy of the Zhanling sect's core forging cultivators into a rope. The entire formation looked dim, but it was no longer flickering like before. "Restore." Perfected Gua Xuanshan's voice was still unhurried. However, as soon as perfected Gua Xuanshan's voice fell, the entire array was like a ferocious beast that was slowly accumulating power. The dark array shield gradually lit up. Originally, the 18 wind pillars would cut a deep mark on the surface of the array shield, but now they could only leave a faint mark that was repaired by the array shield itself. At this moment, a cold snort suddenly came from the distant sky, as if it had suddenly exploded in the ears of all the cultivators. Almost all the Jinling's core forging stage perfected masters in charge of the formation's operation felt their qi and blood unstable, and they instantly lost control of the true essence in their bodies. Many of the weaker core forging stage cultivators with weak foundations were directly shaken by this cold snort, and blood flowed from the corners of their mouths. Even perfected Xianxian, who was helping perfected Gua Xianshan to operate the formation, turned pale, and his limbs numbed. Perfected Gua Xuanshan's expression changed, and he secretly cursed. "Not good." He hurriedly shouted, "True essence." However, many of the perfected masters had not yet recovered from the cold snort, and when they heard perfected Gua Xuanshan's roar, they were momentarily flustered, unable to quickly keep up with the operation of the formation. The sect-protecting formation on Tianling Mountain suddenly lit up, but because many cultivators were unable to keep up with the changes in the formation, many dark spots of the sect-protecting formation were obscured by the bright light. At this moment, the wind net array suddenly tightened again, and the 18 wind pillars that coiled around the sect-protecting formation sped up their rotation, and the creak sounds of explosions suddenly became more intense. The sect-protecting formation once again shone brightly, and it looked like it was expanding outwards, trying to break the 18 wind net array, but instead, the wind pillars squeezed a deeper layer of depression on the surface of the formation. However, Just when it looked like the sect protecting formation had been squeezed out of shape by the wind pillars, a deafening roar rang out, and two faintly discernible giant claws formed from spiritual energy suddenly appeared above the sect protecting formation. The two giant claws reached down, each grabbing a wind pillar, and then pulled outwards, immediately tearing the two wind pillars into 4 pieces. With this powerful reinforcement, the sect protecting formation shone brightly again, and 2 more wind pillars were torn apart. The pressure on the sect protecting formation was greatly reduced, and it immediately shrunk and expanded. A series of cracking sounds rang out, and another 12 wind pillars were torn apart. The remaining 2 wind pillars were also torn apart by the 2 giant claws of spiritual energy. Then, the 2 giant claws suddenly disintegrated into spiritual energy in the sky, slowly accumulating in the light of the sect protecting formation before disappearing. After Dao Sheng Laozu's great spell was broken, several core forging enlightened masters responsible for operating the sect protecting formation on Tianling Mountain coughed up blood and fainted from serious injuries. There were also a few cultivators who coughed up blood and were seriously injured, and even enlightened Master Gua Xuanshan's face was pale. He was quite shocked. To be able to resist the sect protecting formation that was personally set up by Taishan Laozu, who was the only true spirit realm cultivator in Jinling 4 or 5,000 years ago, and to be able to severely injure about half of the core forging cultivators, including a few late core forging cultivators, in one fell swoop, and even enlightened Master Gua Xianshan himself was quite shocked. If it wasn't for enlightened Master Gua Xuanshan's good command, barely gathering the strength of most of the cultivators at the last moment to activate the true spirit hand of the sect protecting formation and break the wind net formation, even if there were still a few Laozu behind Jinling who hadn't made a move yet, the ones who coughed up blood and were seriously injured weren't just the core forging cultivators responsible for operating the sect protecting formation. Even enlightened Master Gua Xianshan himself would have been injured. In the North Sea's cultivation world, who else could have such tyrannical strength? Dao Sheng Laozu, Xinling sect's Dao Sheng Laozu. It must be him. Only this person had such strength, dared to fight against Jinling's sect protecting formation alone. At this moment, all the cultivators in Jinling finally had a personal understanding of the strength of the number 1 cultivator in the North Sea. In the past, Dao Sheng Laozu was too far away from all the cultivators in the North Sea's cultivation world. Even Jinling, who had always set Xinling sect as their goal, only saw Dao Sheng Laozu as an expert who could fight against Jinling's wind and snow immortals. They had already lost the respect they should have for the number 1 cultivator in the North Sea. A long laugh pierced through the sky. Tianfan Laozu asked with a smile, "I haven't seen you for decades. Senior martial brother Dao Sheng's divine power has become more and more powerful. You certainly live up to your reputation as the number 1 cultivator in the North Sea. I still have to thank senior martial brother Dao Sheng for disciplining my disciples on my behalf, letting them know that there's always someone better out there, and that they should know how to respect their elders, lest they become arrogant and become complacent." A faint sigh was heard, and a weathered voice rang in the sky. "Tianfan, are you mocking me? I originally wanted to test the strength of you and your wife with this wind array. It seems that the wind and snow immortals have improved a little in the past 50 years, but I didn't expect the 2 of you to really be able to endure it and force your disciples to use the sect-protecting array to resist it. You really have the heart to do it." Tianfan Laozu understood what Dao Sheng Laozu meant. He smiled and said, "A jade that is not cut is worthless, so I have to make use of senior martial brother Dao Sheng's sharp carving knife." A skinny old man vaguely appeared in the sky, then slowly walked towards the sky above Jinling. After a while, he said, "In this aspect, Xinling sect is indeed not as good as your sect." This sentence surprised Tianfan Laozu, but he could only smile and say to the skinny old man, "Senior martial brother Dao Sheng, you flatter me." Dao Sheng Laozu didn't comment. He looked around and said, "Almost everyone is here. Everyone, come out and meet me." Chapter 460. In the cave of the deep-sea demon territory's underwater mountain range, A huge ninth-grade white jade lotus slowly rotated above Lu Ping's head. A blue light curtain slanted down from the lotus and turned into a light curtain that enveloped the entire cave. It seemed to be suppressing something. The entire crypt was now filled with a black light. The black light dashed left and right in the crypt, as if it was trying to find a way to escape. However, it was tightly restrained by the blue light curtain hanging down from the rank 9 white jade lotus in the crypt space. Lu Ping looked at the light rushing left and right. He smiled happily at Samling next to him and said, "Dagawei has really broken through. I didn't expect it to cause such a phenomenon so quickly. If I hadn't been immersed in cultivation these past few days, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to suppress the phenomenon in time. At that time, I'm afraid this place would have been exposed." A few days later, a burly young man with a dull face appeared in front of Lu Ping. He said to Lu Ping in a deep voice, "Master, Dagawei has advanced to the core forging stage and successfully transformed." Lu Ping smiled and said, "Dagawei, I'll have to trouble you this time. Originally, it was a critical period for us to consolidate our cultivation. However, we need to escape from the deep-sea demon territory as soon as possible, so we had to let you out first." The young demon cultivator Lu Dagawei nodded and said, "Rest assured, Master, Dagawei knows." Lu Ping patted him on the shoulder and said, "Well, this time it's up to you. First, blend into the demon population in the deep-sea demon territory and find out the route to enter and exit the deep-sea demon territory. At the same time, find out the current situation of the human and demon races. Originally, these tasks could be handed over to Samling, but the identity of the green sea snake is too sensitive among the North Sea demon race. Previously, they were exposed, so now they can't appear among the demon races. Debeo's cultivation is also not good, not to mention that he is an earth attribute spirit-seeking mouse. If he appears at the bottom of the sea, he will definitely be caught by the demon race to admire. So, you're the only one who can go." With that said, Lu Ping handed over 2 magical weapons to Lu Dagawei, saying, "Because things happened in a hurry, Master did not prepare a suitable magical weapon for you. These 2 are the spoils of war that we have seized over the years. Among the magical weapons suitable for water attribute cultivation methods, they are considered good. One for attack and one for defense. You temporarily refine it in case of emergencies. After this time, I will get rid of Qinlian and refine a suitable weapon for you." Lu Dagawei nodded and received a storage magical weapon from Lu Ping. After storing some of the spiritual stones and medicinal pills that Lu Ping gave him, he left the cave and walked out of the underwater mountain range. In the sky above Tianling Mountain, as soon as Dao Sheng Laozu's voice fell, Tian Shui Laozu had already appeared beside Tian Fan Laozu. She casually exchanged greetings with Dao Sheng Laozu, then fiercely said to the void beside them, "Dao Yin, get the hell out of here. How dare you try to escape with your life on Huanyu Island? Do you think that Xianling sect is the only family in the North Sea? Aren't you afraid of being laughed at?" In the void behind Dao Sheng Laozu, the spirit mountain flashed, as if a curtain had been lifted. Immediately, the person standing behind the curtain was revealed. Dao Yin Laozu's face was gloomy. After being scolded by Tian Shui Laozu, his originally arrogant and unruly character suddenly became as gloomy as a poisonous snake. He said coldly, "The wind and snow immortals want to fight with Senior Dao Sheng, and Tian Xiang is being held back by Senior Dao Yin in the perished mystery land. Did you, Zhanling, prepare another set of life-diminishing magical power to sacrifice an early Dharma adept? Is it the Fornax or the Tianjiang? However, the 2 of them are not comparable to Tian Kang's peak early Dharma cultivation. Even if they use this magical power, they may not be able to survive until now like Tian Kang. Haha, I have long heard that Uncle Dao Yin is the 3rd strongest expert in Xianling sect. This time, how about the 2 of us learn from Uncle Dao Yin?" Tian Lin and Tian Ling, the 2 Laozus, walked out together. Tian Lin Laozu smiled and said to Dao Yin Laozu. Dao Yin Laozu's eyes narrowed. Looking at the wind and snow immortals beside him, he nodded and said, "I guess the 2 of you must have also learned the eyebrows welcoming guest magical power that Zhenling secretly passed down. That's why you have the confidence to challenge me." After saying that, Dao Yin Laozu's expression suddenly changed. He looked at the two of them seriously and asked, "That's right. When junior brother Daokong died, I always thought that Tian Xiang had secretly attacked from the side. Could it be that the two of you really joined forces to defeat junior brother Daokong?" Tian Lin Laozu smiled and did not say anything. Tian Ling Laozu suddenly became as cold as ice and did not say a word. Dao Yin Laozu cast a glance behind him and saw that Xianling sect's other two Laozus, Dao Li and Feng Shutao, had also appeared in front of Heavenly Spirit Mountain. Feng Shutao looked at Tian Lin and his wife, and his expression changed. He looked very indignant, but he could not vent the gloominess in his heart. He could only let out a loud snort, as if to show his existence. Soon, on Jinling's side, Tianjiang and Fornax Laozu also appeared. Jinling's 6 Laozus stood against Xianling sect's 5 Laozus. It was just like the battle between the two sects more than 50 years ago. But this time, Jinling's growth was a step faster. Back then, because Jinling was at a slight disadvantage, Tian Kong Laozu was on the verge of dying. This time, Zhang Tianlin and his wife joined forces again after several decades, and their strength had already surpassed Tian Kong Laozu's from back then. Just as the two sides were at each other's throats, Dao Sheng Laozu suddenly asked Zhang Tianlin and his wife, "Both of you have actually achieved 8th grade golden cores?" Dao Sheng Laozu's identity was special. Even though the battle between the two sides was imminent, Zhang Tianlin still maintained a sense of respect for this top cultivator of the North Sea. At the end of the day, Dao Sheng Laozu's title as the top cultivator of the North Sea was not because he was at the late Dharma stage, but because he had killed his way through many mid-Dharma adepts in the North Sea. His position as the top cultivator of the North Sea had been firmly established when he was at the mid-Dharma stage. Including Tian Xiang Laozu of Jinling, all of them had been defeated by him. Tianlin Laozu bowed as a junior, but he was neither servile nor overbearing. He smiled and said, "We were lucky enough to obtain the spirit-forging pill and managed to achieve 8th grade golden cores." As soon as Tianling Laozu finished speaking, Feng Shutao, who was behind Dao Sheng Laozu, changed his expression again. Although he had long guessed that the two's strength had increased tremendously after advancing to the Dharma stage was because they had condensed a golden core of a higher grade than his, now that he heard it from Tianlin Laozu's own mouth, he still felt like he could die. However, Dao Sheng Laozu nodded and said, "You, Zhang Tianlin, were the pride of the North Sea in the past. If Feng Shutao had not practiced 30 years earlier than you, I'm afraid you would have left him far behind." Feng Shutao simply lowered his head behind Dao Sheng Laozu. Although the others could not see his expression clearly, they knew that Feng Shutao must be extremely embarrassed now. However, Feng Shutao did not dare to have the slightest complaint, because Dao Sheng Laozu was not only the pillar of the Xianling sect, but he was also Feng Shutao's teacher. Chapter 461. Dao Sheng Laozu took another look at Lu Tianling and said, "Although you have achieved the 8th grade golden core, you used 3 low-grade heaven-level spirit objects, so you can only have the worst kind of 8th grade golden core. You can't compare to Zhang Tianlin. If you didn't have the spirit forging pill, I think you would be like Feng Shutao, at most able to refine 2 low-grade heaven-level spirit objects, but your strength would still be half a level lower than Feng Shutao." Lu Tianling's expression did not change, but he said, "Senior Dao Sheng's eyes are like a torch. I admire you." Dao Sheng Laozu had seen through Zhang Tianlin and his wife, but Dao Yin Laozu's expression changed. He knew that Dao Sheng Laozu's comment was not only to add some pressure to Jinling, but also to tell him that the couple indeed had the strength to fight against him. In the past, only Dao Sheng Laozu and Tian Xiang Laozu had achieved the 8th grade golden core. Now, among Jinling's second-generation disciples, there were actually 2 who had achieved the 8th grade golden core, and they had mastered Jinling's inherited secret technique, which allowed them to challenge those of a higher level. Jinling could rely on Tian Fan and Tian Shui to compete with Dao Yin Laozu, which was also the most important reason why Jinling could compete with Xianling sect. Once Zhang Tianlin and his wife also advanced to the mid-core forging stage, then Xianling sect would definitely be overwhelmed by Jinling. What's more, Zhang Tianlin was obviously as amazing as Dao Sheng Laozu back then. Once he successfully advanced to the late Dharma stage, there would be no place for Xianling sect in the North Sea cultivation world. Dao Sheng Laozu nodded, then looked at Tian Fan Laozu and said, Tian Xiang is not here today. It seems that Zhenling is now in charge of Zhenling. I have something to say to you. This time, Dao Shi was actually seriously injured by Li Xuannin's sneak attack. Although his condition is much better than Tian King's, I'm afraid he won't be able to recover without 50 to 60 years of rest. With Dao Shi's cultivation base, although the chances of him advancing to the mid-Dharma stage are extremely slim, there is still a glimmer of hope. But this time, he was seriously injured, and 50 to 60 years of rest was used to recuperate. His last hope of advancing to the mid-Dharma stage is gone, so I'm here to seek justice for brother Dao Shi. Before Tian Fan Laozu could speak, Tan Shui Laozu, who was standing at the side, scolded that Dao Shi's cultivation was only injured, but my martial nephew Xian Yin has perished. You want to seek justice, but I, Zhenling, want to seek justice from your Xianling sect. At this moment, Xianling sect's Dao Yin Laozu also opened his mouth to refute. What a joke. He's just a minor repairs in the core forging stage. How can he be compared to Dharma Laozu? This was nonsense. Since Sage Xian Yin had attained the 7th grade golden elixir, with his ability to injure Dao Shi Laozu with a sneak attack in the late core forging stage, his future achievements would definitely be above Dao Shi Laozu's after he advanced to the Dharma stage. From Zhenling's point of view, Sage Xian Yin's actions were simply a huge loss. Of course, the main culprit was that Ice Dragon Aou. Tian Shui Laozu frowned and pointed at Dao Yin Laozu, scolding, **T. Back then, Dao Shi killed martial nephew Xian Yin's wife. The hatred of killing his wife is absolutely irreconcilable. Martial nephew Xian Yin taking revenge for his wife is only right and proper. Dao Yin Laozu sneered, he's just a demon. Junior brother Dao Shi killing him was to help you. Zhenling, it's fine if you don't buy his favor, but you actually repaid kindness with enmity, injuring my junior brother Dao Shi. Could it be that you, Zhenling, have really colluded with the demon race? First, you married a demon girl, and now, you married a demon race's brother-in-law. I'm afraid that your sect is still hiding a vile spawn from the union of a human and a demon, right? I heard that your sect's Li Xianyin only had one direct disciple, called In Xianchu or something. He's also a genius cultivator of yours, Zhenling. I'm afraid most of the people in your sect don't know his identity, right? Tian Shui Laozu's expression changed. Just when she was about to refute, Dao Sheng Laozu spoke. Since ancient times, demons and demons have never coexisted. Your sect should know what to do. Wasn't the death of your sect's master Xian Yin due to the temptation of the demon girl, and then the instigation of the demon race cultivators, resulting in such a tragedy? You can say that he only has himself to blame. However, that Xian Yin is still an outstanding talent among your sect's second-generation disciples. This time, regarding my junior brother Dao Shi's matter, your sect will definitely bear the consequences. At this moment, Tian Fan Laozu no longer had a smile on his face. He said in a deep voice, What do you want? Dao Sheng Laozu said leisurely, Huangli Island. All the islands within 1,000 miles radius of Huangli Island will be returned to my Xianling sect. That place was originally my Xianling sect's sphere of influence, but it has been occupied by your sect's dove nest for dozens of years. Returning it is only right and proper. Not to mention the islands within 1,000 miles radius of Huangli Island. Almost all the islands under Dikuan Island's jurisdiction were included in it. Just Huangli Island alone was already no less than a resurgent island. At this moment, Tian Fan Laozu's gloomy face suddenly smiled and said, If that's the case, then let's do it. Let us husband and wife see exactly what realm's senior brother Dao Sheng's cultivation has reached in the past 50 years. As soon as he finished speaking, Tian Shui, Tian Fan, and Dao Sheng Laozu suddenly disappeared in front of Tianling Mountain's protective array. Immediately after, a thunderous roar suddenly exploded in the sky above Tianling Mountain. The whole world suddenly became bright and dark. As the wind blew, the clouds scud and the sea surface surged up a few dozen feet high tsunami waves. As the huge waves rolled, they surged in all directions. One of them was heading towards Tianling Mountain. Another thunderous roar. The huge waves crashed onto Tianling Mountain's protective array, exploding into silver-white water that filled the sky. Dao Yin Laozu took a step forward and sneered. I want to see how powerful a cultivator who has condensed an 8th-grade golden core and advanced to the transcendence realm is. These words of Dao Yin Laozu were older than Jiang Tianlin and his wife. However, in the ears of the bystanders, these words had already turned sour. Jiang Tianlin Laozu smiled at Lu Tianling Laozu. However, Lu Tianling Laozu was still as cold as ice. He actually took a step forward and waved out 9 thin and long cyan-colored water currents that wrapped around Dao Yin Laozu. Dao Yin Laozu laughed mischievously. Suddenly, a black door appeared behind him. Dao Yin Laozu took a step back, and his entire body was instantly engulfed by the black door. Lu Tianling Laozu snorted coldly, and his figure immediately disappeared. Jiang Tianlin Laozu smiled awkwardly before disappearing as well. Feng Shidao took the initiative to attack Laozu, who was descending from the sky. However, the two of them did not use any space magic. Instead, they fought all the way up into the sky. Daoli Laozu looked at Tianlu Laozu in front of him and sighed softly. He said, "Back then, you and I were the best of friends. We exchanged pointers on alchemy, cultivation methods, and spiritual herb cultivation techniques. However, as our positions in the sect became higher and higher, we could not be as carefree as before. Now, we even have to fight each other. The world is really unpredictable." Tianlu Laozu also showed a nostalgic expression, but he quickly hid these emotions and said, "Our paths are different, so we cannot work together. Let's just fight today." Daoli Laozu nodded and said seriously, "You and I know each other very well. In terms of cultivation, your accumulation is deeper than mine. However, I have the sea-boiling cauldron, so I can suppress you." Tianlu Laozu sneered and said, "Let's talk after we fight." Lu Ping waited quietly in the cave for several days. Lu Dagui finally returned and brought 2 pieces of bad news to Lu Ping. The first was that in the entire deep-sea demon territory, several groups of demon cultivators had formed search teams and were searching for traces of Lu Ping. Among them, the patriarch of the Ice Dragon clan, Aou, had offered a high-grade Earth-step heaven and Earth treasure as a reward for killing Lu Ping and avenging his son. When Lu Ping heard this news, he found it quite funny. Aou was probably the only one left of the Ice Dragon clan, but he still put on the airs of a patriarch. However, the Ice Dragon clan was worthy of being a top-grade demon clan. Even though they were on the verge of extinction, they still had a foundation. They offered a high-grade Earth-step heaven and Earth treasure, which was enough to make the core forging stage demon cultivators of the North Sea go crazy. The second news was that the 2 major sects of the North Sea, Xianling sect and Jinling sect, had started a confrontation because of the assassination of Dao Shi Laozu by Taoist Mysterious Yin. The 2 sides were on the verge of a war. The demon clan cultivators in the deep-sea demon territory were in high spirits and had already agreed to raid the islands of the 2 sects during the war. The rumor also specifically mentioned Huangli Island, which would be the main target of the demon clan's surprise attack. It was said that a late core forging demon cultivator would personally lead the attack on Huangli Island. In the eyes of all the core forging cultivators of the North Sea, Huangli Island was a symbol of humiliation. Huangli Island had been in the heart of the demon race for more than 10 years. In a situation where the demon race had always held the upper hand, Huangli Island was like a thorn in the flesh, causing all the demon race cultivators to feel as if there was a fishbone stuck in their throats. Outside of Huangli Island, more than 5 mid-core forging demon cultivators had fallen here. When he heard that the demon clan would launch a large-scale attack on Huangli Island, Lu Ping could no longer sit still in the underground cave. He tried his best to suppress his impatience to return and asked Lu Dagui in a deep voice, "Dagui, have you found out the way back? Do you have the confidence to get out of the deep-sea demon territory?" Lu Dagui nodded, "Master, don't worry. Dagui will blend in with the other demon clan cultivators and rush back to Huangli Island as soon as possible." Lu Ping nodded and handed a formation plate to Lu Dagui. At the same time, there was also a sound-transmitting sword. He said, "When you're near Huangli Island, don't show your face, lest the demon clan cultivators on the island discover you and kill you. Now, Huangli Island isn't just filled with blood condensation realm cultivators. There are also more and more core forging stage cultivators coming and going. Send out the sound transmitting sword first and wait for Senior Martial Sister Hu or Senior Martial Brother Chun to arrive. Then, pass this formation plate to Senior Martial Sister Hu. You don't have to worry about the rest. Lu Dague nodded and said, Master, don't worry. Dague will rush back as soon as possible. Lu Ping smiled and said, Don't worry. You've just advanced to the core forging stage and haven't had the time to consolidate your cultivation. The most important thing on the way back is safety. As for the time, it doesn't matter. This underground cave is extremely well hidden. The demon clan won't be able to find this place in a short period of time. Although he said that, in reality, Lu Ping's mind had already flown to Huangli Island. Chapter 462. Feng Shutao had finally fought an evenly matched battle. After Feng Shutao had advanced to the Dharma stage, what followed was not the glory that he had imagined, but a series of defeats and humiliation. When he finally met an opponent that was on par with him, the passion that came from the depths of his heart actually caused his opponent, the heavenly descending elder, to be at a loss for a moment, and he almost fell into a disadvantageous position. Feng Shutao's starting point for entering the Dharma stage was not low among the Dharma Laozu of the North Sea. At least, it was higher than his opponent, Tianjiang Laozu. However, Tianjiang Laozu was someone who had entered the Dharma stage hundreds of years ago, so he had much more experience than Feng Shutao. He used all kinds of great and small spells that he was familiar with and quickly turned the situation around. Both sides were evenly matched again. In another part of the void, Daoli Laozu, who was at a disadvantage, raised a four-legged black and red furnace in the air. He lifted the lid of the furnace and 12 thin lines of fire shot out from the furnace, heading straight for Tianlu Laozu. Tianlu Laozu did not dare to face it head-on and quickly dodged to the side. Daoli Laozu took advantage of the situation and gave chase. He said proudly, Brother Tianlu, these 12 lines of fire are 12 kinds of fire seeds. They are all kinds of fire seeds that I have collected in the past few years to make elixirs. Among them, these are the best and most effective fire seeds for making elixirs. There are also other kinds of fire seeds that can be used to make some special elixirs. Only a magic treasure level cauldron can fuse these 12 fire seeds into one cauldron and use their power. Brother Tianlu, how do you think this spell that I have created compares to the great spells? Tianlu Laozu did not say a word and was at a disadvantage. For a moment, he was forced by Daoli Laozu to move around in the void and occasionally counterattack to relieve the pressure on his body. Daoli Laozu smiled and said, Brother Fornax, why didn't you bring your sect's top-tier cauldron this time? At least it can temporarily contend against my boiling sea cauldron. Didn't Brother Fornax also use a top-tier cauldron to fight against me? Fornax Laozu coldly snorted. His face turned red with anger. Daoli Laozu became even more complacent when he saw Fornax Laozu like this. Back then, Fornax Laozu used a top-grade alchemy cauldron to fight against Daoli Laozu, who was in charge of the boiling sea cauldron. Although Fornax Laozu did not fall into a disadvantageous position, that top-grade alchemy cauldron was greatly damaged and had not been repaired until now. In the world of cultivation, a top-grade alchemy cauldron was equivalent to an ordinary magic treasure. A top-grade alchemy cauldron was not inferior to a top-grade psychic magic treasure. In the eyes of the North Sea cultivators, a magic treasure-level alchemy cauldron was worth a spirit-nurturing magic treasure. Daoli Laozu saw that Fornax Laozu was only moving around and did not dare to fight him head-on. He became more and more unscrupulous. He reached out and patted the boiling sea cauldron on top of his head. The boiling sea cauldron suddenly made a gurgling sound, as if something was really boiling. Then, a large mass of multicolored boiling water formed a strange formation with the 12 fire serpents in the sky. Fornax Laozu said in a serious voice, Fire and water coexist alchemy technique. I didn't expect you to really use this alchemy technique. Daoli Laozu chuckled and said, In terms of alchemy, You have always been slightly better than me, but I have the boiling sea cauldron to suppress you. Now that I have the fire and water coexist alchemy technique, I am no longer inferior to you in alchemy." Fornax Laozu nodded and said, "The fire and water coexist alchemy technique is indeed a brilliant alchemy technique in the world of cultivation, but you are not the only one who can figure it out." Dowli Laozu's eyes turned cold when he heard this. He saw Fornax Laozu waving his hands continuously, and several fire seeds and several different colors of flowing water fused together in the sky. Then, they exploded, and the huge momentum collapsed the formation that Dowli Laozu had set up using the fire and water coexist alchemy technique. Dowli Laozu said fiercely, "So what if you have also mastered this alchemy technique? I have the boiling sea cauldron in my hand, and you are still no match for me." As soon as Dowli Laozu's voice fell, he saw Fornax Laozu, who had been wandering around and hiding, suddenly stop in the void. Dowli Laozu's heart moved, and he was about to command the boiling sea cauldron to trap Fornax Laozu. However, before Dowli Laozu could step forward, he saw a cauldron rising above Fornax Laozu's head. Dowli Laozu was overjoyed. He knew that Xinling only had 3 top-grade cauldrons. More than 50 years ago, during the war between the two sides, Dowli Laozu had basically destroyed one of them. This time, if another one was destroyed, then Xinling's foundation would be weakened again. However, before Dowli Laozu's boiling sea cauldron could come forward, the cauldron above Fornax Laozu's head had already smashed towards Dowli Laozu. What? Dowli Laozu was first pleasantly surprised, and then terrified. In the midst of a loud bang, Dowli Laozu cried out in disbelief, "Magic treasure! A cauldron magic treasure! Since when did Xinling have a magic treasure-level cauldron? How is this possible?" When Dowli Laozu was caught off guard, Fornax Laozu attacked with the Na Chuan cauldron, which had evolved into a magic treasure, and repelled the boiling sea cauldron in one fell swoop. Dowli Laozu was not prepared and was hit by the Na Chuan cauldron until he vomited blood. This time, the situation was reversed. Dowli Laozu began to be forced to flee in all directions by Fornax Laozu. The battle between the two of them naturally did not escape the senses of the other Laozus who were fighting in the void. Seeing the Na Chuan cauldron's appearance, the hearts of the Xianling sect's Laozu sunk. The reason why Xianling sect could occupy the position of the number 1 sect in the Northern Sea for such a long time was because of their deep foundation. Now that Xinling was constantly rising, their foundation was getting closer and closer to Xianling sect. In another part of the void, Dao Sheng Laozu only glanced at the Na Chuan cauldron in Fornax Laozu's hand from afar. A radiance flashed across his eyes. With a wave of his hand, another 2 great divine abilities were displayed. Tian Fan Laozu and Tian Laozu also displayed a great divine ability each. In an instant, the void was filled with wind and snow, barely blocking Dao Sheng Laozu's 2 great divine abilities. Tian Fan Laozu and Tian Shui Laozu had never gained the upper hand in front of Dao Sheng Laozu even when they joined forces. They were just barely holding on. Tian Fan Laozu and Tian Shui Laozu looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Ever since the two of them were able to protect themselves in front of Dao Sheng Laozu more than 50 years ago, their confidence had increased tremendously. After 50 years of hard training, they thought that even if the two of them joined forces again, even if they were unable to gain the upper hand, they would definitely be able to defeat Dao Laozu and truly stand on equal footing with him. However, from the start of the battle until now, the wind and snow immortals had been suppressed by Dao Sheng Laozu. The scene was very similar to that of 50 years ago. Tian Shui Laozu and Tian Fan Laozu's hearts sank. At the same time, they were not confident that they would be able to survive the calamity of the mid-Dharma stage and advance to the late Dharma stage in the future. However, unlike Dao Sheng Laozu, Dao Yin Laozu was indeed depressed to death. He would never have thought that the two of them, who had just advanced to the Dharma stage and had a falling out with each other decades ago, would be able to force him into such a state. Looking at the tacit cooperation between Jiang Tianlin and Lu Tianling, they did not look like a husband and wife who had a falling out with each other. They were simply lovers who had a telepathic connection. As Dao Yin Laozu resisted the joint attack of the two of them, he cursed in his heart. Was it their 8th grade golden elixir or Jinling's equal eyebrows secret technique that was more powerful? Or was it both? Dao Yin Laozu was also a proud person. During the war between the two sects, he was the one who had personally injured Jinling's Tiankong Laozu. After that, he had been struggling at death's door. Meanwhile, Jinling was like a madman, scouring the North Sea in search of elixirs that could extend his lifespan. This was an extremely exciting battle in the eyes of others, but in Dao Yin Laozu's heart, it was an extremely depressing memory. As an early Dharma adept, he had fought against Dao Yin Laozu, who had already advanced to the mid-Dharma stage at that time. Dao Yin Laozu could never forget the mocking look that Tiankong Laozu gave him, as well as the contemptuous look that Tiankong gave Dao Yin Laozu when he used the secret technique that consumed his lifespan to force Dao Yin to retreat. Dao Yin Laozu had always thought that he had actually lost. His mid-Dharma stage cultivation was ultimately unable to do anything to an early Dharma adept. After he returned to Xinling sect, he had been waiting for news of Tiankong Laozu's death. In his opinion, as long as Tiankong Laozu was dead, then he would still have won this battle. However, Dao Yin Laozu had waited for more than 50 years. Tiankong Laozu had stubbornly survived until now, and there was still no news of his death. However, this time, Xinling sect had once again besieged Tianling Mountain. In Dao Yin Laozu's opinion, this time, he would definitely be the one to open up the path of victory for Xinling sect. This was because Tian Xiang was not in Jinling, and Tian Shui and Tian Fan were fighting against senior brother Shang. Then, there would definitely be no 4th mid-Dharma adept in Jinling who could fight against him. However, the reality was far beyond his expectations. Not only did Dao Yin Laozu not open up the path of victory, on the contrary, Zhang Tianlin and Lu Tianling who were fighting against him seemed to have the idea of opening up the path of victory through him. Just as the battle between the two sides seemed to have entered a stalemate, the sky above Tianling Mountain flashed with light. A person suddenly appeared in front of Jinling's sect-protecting formation. He stretched out his hand towards the water barrier of Jinling's sect-protecting formation. The entire formation shook violently, and a loud roar resounded through the heavens and earth. Previously, everyone in Jinling was already stunned by the 10 Laozus fighting in the sky. Who would have the time to pay attention to this cultivator who had suddenly appeared? However, this cultivator who suddenly appeared in front of Tianling Mountain only casually slapped the barrier, and the entire formation shook. Some of the Jinling cultivators who were originally in charge of operating the formation were already absent-minded, and in their haste, they vomited blood and fainted from the backlash of the formation. Reverend Guo Xuanshan's voice rang out once more. Everyone in Jinling, abide by your duties. The entire formation immediately lit up again. However, the cultivator who had attacked the formation earlier stood with his hands behind his back, no longer attacking. He only raised his head as if he was watching the battle between the 10 Laozus in the sky. Reverend Guo Xuanshan's calm voice rang out once more. Crystal Palace's Yuanguang Laozu, why did you attack our sect's formation for no reason? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.